Chapter 119 The Voice of China. The third team consisted of 3 tutors, who also stood up and introduced themselves. Contrary to Lin Xiao's expectations, these 3 were not from a certain key institution as he imagined, but from 3 different institutions. Among the 12 super institutions, the 12th ranked Sacred Crystal is headed, and 2 key universities related to Sacred Crystal are formed together. The 4th team of 5 mentors, after their respective introductions, was also a team composed of War Throne, which ranked 3rd among the 12 super universities, and 4 key universities headed by War Throne. After listening to the self-introductions of the 10 tutors, combined with the information about the summer camp that was searched on the internet, Lin Xiao already had a certain spectrum in his heart. Obviously, this year's Super Freshman Summer Camp was sponsored by the military, so the military won the quota for 2 teams, and the other 2 teams were divided by the College Alliance, led by 2 super colleges. That is to say, although the Super Freshman Summer Camp is jointly organized by 5 super universities in Huasha District, only 2 super universities participated in this session, namely War Throne and Holy Crystal, and the other 3 did not take action. This is also normal. For super colleges, ordinary elite geniuses are not worth competing for. In fact, according to the previous summer camp information he searched, most of the previous summer camps have only 1 super college, and sometimes there is none. It seems that they come in turns. This time, there are 2 super universities, and it is estimated that they came to Wu Zonglin, a super genius who was on the Tianzhou sub-ranking list in his first year of high school. Sure enough, such a super genius has to compete for even a super university, which is too enviable. Lin Xiao turned his head and glanced at the calm-faced black-haired boy sitting in the center of the 9 golden thrones, and rubbed his face, very longing. They are all teenagers. Who doesn't yearn for this high-profile feeling of being watched by thousands of people, and it's useless to say that they don't care. If there is a chance, how many will refuse? Standing tall, attracting attention, the most dazzling and beautiful boy in the audience, the eyes of thousands of girls, and priority to mating. At least Lin Xiao found that many girls present were always looking at him, which was really cool. I want it too. Next, the instructors will select their team members and confirm their rank. Once confirmed, they cannot be changed. The ranks are upper, middle, and lower. Now Colonel Hong Yunfei of the Wolf-Tooth team will start the selection. The host's voice pulled back Lin Xiao's divergent thinking. He concentrated and stared at the instructor, looking at the 9 figures of the highest gold first order, scanning back and forth several times, skipping over Wu Zonglin several times, and finally falling. On the first golden throne, asked, "Student Zhang Guan, are you willing to join my team?" "My pleasure." A ray of light landed on him from the sky, forming a wolf head mark that roared up to the sky. Very good. Zhang Guan chose to join the Wolf Fang team, and now Colonel Xie Yufei of the Raging Flame team chooses the players. As soon as the host's voice fell, the figure shrouded in the dark golden light said, "Qin Fengyan, would you like to join my team?" The one who was questioned was the woman among the 5 men and 1 woman who finally arrived with Wu Zonglin. She stood up and nodded in response. "My pleasure." Then, under the introduction of the host, Lu Wuji, the instructor of the 3rd Sacred Crystal team, stood up and invited 1 of the 5 men and 1 woman to be included in the team. The next step is Yuan Xingchen, the mentor of the super academic War Throne. As everyone expected, he directly invited Wu Zonglin. Obviously, this is the 4th team that has been discussed. Wu Zonglin was specially recruited by the War Throne, and he must join this team. The first round is over, and the second round begins with the last selected War Throne. As everyone expected, not only them, but the other 3 teams all selected the highest gold rank. The same is true for the next selection. Starting from the last pick in the second round, the Wolf Fang team immediately selected the last of the 9 golden thrones, and the next Raging Flame team can only choose the silver first order. Colonel Xie Yufei glanced at the 36 silver thrones. In the eyes of everyone, especially the students on the silver throne, they all wanted to be the first batch of candidates under the gold, and they were also the top 3 picks of each team. Selected, which means that he is the strongest group under the gold. She quickly made a decision and chose one among the many expectations. "Shen Yuyu, would you like to join my team?" As expected and reasonable, women naturally prefer girls. Shen Yuexin is naturally willing. The next choice from the mentors of the Holy Crystal team is very exciting, but Lin Xiao is not included. No matter what, they will be considered after the first layer of silver is divided up. Even if it is a group, there will naturally be competition, and the mentor's priority must be the stronger team members. Those who are ranked lower like them are basically selected in batches at the end. The fact is that, as he thought, with the rounds of selection, the students in the silver seats were selected one by one, and no one sent an invitation to the silver level and below. The selected students are also very cooperative, and for the time being, no one has refused the invitation of the instructor. For them, it doesn't matter which team they join, it doesn't matter which team has more resources. Basically, the resources are the same, unless you have better performance. As the only ancient city sitting on the silver throne in the team, he was selected by the Throne of War team. He was very happy. The group congratulated him and Shen Yuexin in succession, and Lin Xiao was no exception. Soon all the silver level students were selected and it was their turn to bronze level 1. At this point, Lin Xiao found that the selection speed of the tutors has accelerated significantly. He no longer has to think about who to choose like the previous layer. Now he almost made a choice in 1 or 2 seconds. 12 bronze players have been selected. Lin Shu was selected by Holy Crystal in the second round of bronze rank 1. Then, the mentors selected 108 black iron players at a faster rate. Then, it was the turn of the 360 stone players on the lowest floor. At this time, it happened to be the turn of the War Throne Academy team to choose. At this point, everyone clearly found that the Holy Crystal and the War Throne team were not the captains of the two teams, but the same team. The other mentors of the team, obviously in their eyes, the students behind are basically not outstanding, so they don't need to pay attention. The instructor of the Throne of War team casually touched, and a beam of light landed on Lin Xiao from the sky. The instructor routinely asked, "Student Lin Xiao, would you like to join the War Throne team?" He nodded unexpectedly. He didn't expect that he would be on the same team with Wu Zonglin. But what he didn't see was that just after he was selected, a mentor in the Holy Crystal team on the other side looked up at the mentor of the Throne of War. On the other side, a figure shrouded in the dark golden light also frowned. Next, the selection continued, and all the students on the stone seats were quickly divided. Finally, when it was the turn of more than 1,600 students without seats, there were 10 at a time, and they were divided quickly. In less than 10 minutes, all the students were divided up, and the symbols representing the 4 teams were suspended above the heads of all the students in the entire venue. The Wolf Fang team is the Roaring Wolf. The Wrathfire is a blazing flame. The Sacred Crystal team is a blue prism suspended above its head. The Throne of War team is a fist clenched tightly in flames of blood. After everyone had chosen, the host came back on stage and said, "The second phase of this summer camp has been completed." He looked at the mentors of the 4 teams and asked, "According to the rules, each team has 3 trading places, and they can trade their favorite players at a price that the opposing team is satisfied with. Please make a decision within 10 minutes. What an interesting idea. This rhythm reminded Lin Xiao of the trade under the NBA draft before he passed through. Immediately after the draft, he traded the draft players for the players he liked. This operation was mixed with the settings of the team's mentor, and he couldn't help but guess that the planning of this summer camp was not a rebirth like myself. But just think about it, it is unlikely to be a rebirth, it should be just a plan to move out the previous examples. After all, this super freshman summer camp has been held for thousands of sessions, and there are so many new ideas. Most of them are old ideas that have been used for decades. On the other side, after almost a minute, the representatives of the Holy Crystal team stood up and said to the War Throne team, "We are willing to exchange a black iron rank student for a stone rank student from your team." "Which one?" "Student Lin Xiao." As soon as the words fell, Lin Xiao suddenly felt that he was afraid that thousands of eyes would fall on him at the same time. Almost everyone in the group looked over in surprise. Only Tang Ling was not surprised, knowing that Lin Xiao's strength is not limited to sitting at this level. The 5 mentors of the Throne of War discussed in a low voice and said, "We want 2 black iron rank students. Make a deal." The teacher of the Holy Crystal team said with a smile on his face, which immediately made the hearts of the 5 mentors of the Throne of War sink, knowing that they were at a disadvantage. But at this time, both parties approved the transaction at the same time, and it could not be changed. The loss was settled. They looked up at Lin Xiao with some doubts, but before they could see anything, they suddenly heard a clear voice from the side. "Wait a minute, I want to replace him too." Everyone raised their heads to look at the speaking Raging Flames team mentor, including several other team mentors, especially the Holy Crystal team mentor. There was a thump in his heart, and there was a bad feeling. Under the stage, Tang Ling raised his head in astonishment, immediately envy and jealous, and exclaimed in his heart, "Why are so many people robbing?" Single quote. He didn't understand. "It's not that I don't understand why someone is robbing, but I don't understand why all 3 teams are robbing. This is a treatment that other students at the silver rank don't have." Not only him, but all the students present were puzzled. Even the host looked at him with interest and said, "It's really surprising that 3 teams have chosen this student Lin Xiao. Even so, please ask the Angry Flame team and the Holy Crystal team to make an offer to the War Throne team." Chapter 120 Shocking Transaction. Involving the competition between different teams, the 3 team mentors did not scramble for quotations in public, but communicated in private, but everyone could see the 3 parties are talking fiercely. On the other hand, Lin Xiao, who was sitting on the stone throne opposite the rostrum, was receiving all kinds of surprise and scrutiny from everyone. Someone in the group asked directly, "Student Lin Xiao, are you pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger?" "I want to pretend too, but my strength doesn't allow it." He made a hand-stretched expression and said, "If I were really that powerful, I would have challenged the Black Iron or Bronze rank long ago, and that would have added 1 or 2 more mythical cards." In fact, he really wanted to tell the truth that he didn't have enough cards to challenge, but he was afraid that if he said that, he would be beaten and pretended. Everyone was speechless, and they didn't know what to say for a while. After all, it was a recognized fact that he was poor. If he had the ability, he would definitely not give up the opportunity to get more rewards. But they didn't expect him to be poorer than everyone thought, so poor that he couldn't even get a challenge card. Lin Xiao himself couldn't say the reason for this pretense. He was afraid of being beaten. On a level they can't see, several consciousnesses are secretly arguing fiercely. A mentor from the Holy Crystal team said fiercely, "I found this person first." Someone immediately retorted, "What evidence do you have that you found out first?" "I put a mark on him, and by default it should be mine." "Where did the mark come from?" After a moment of silence, the voice spoke again, but the voice was obviously not as full as before. "Then why didn't you say it earlier? You want to choose quietly and at the lowest price. If so, then we can't blame him. Now that he is our War Throne, he wants to come up with better conditions." After a while of silence, someone said, "A bronze student exchange. Not enough. 2. Not enough. How much do you want?" "A silver student. Don't go too far. Then you don't want to." I will send a silver student." "Colonel Xie, what are you mixing with? This is what I liked first." "I'm sorry, I saw it early too." A cold voice ignored one of them and said to the other, "Yuan Xingchen, can a silver student be replaced?" This time, several mentors of the Throne of War have been asked, and the 2 mentors are fighting for each other. They don't hesitate to send a silver-level student to replace it. Normally, there must be a problem, but they didn't pay attention to this student before, and they didn't know this student at all. There is absolutely no way to refer to its specific performance and potential. You must know that according to the rules between the summer camp tutors, they cannot use magic to retrace the previous battle screen in the key transaction stage. Apart from not allowing it, the interference of the other party itself cannot be done. This is the rules of the summer camp, and it is also the competition between the team and the mentor. The students must compete for the throne, and the team and the mentor must also be divided. There is no way to know the specific situation, and can only choose based on experience. If they can, they don't want to trade, but the rule between the tutors is that if there are multiple bids and no agreement can be reached, the student's own willingness will be the decisive factor. At that time, as long as the student is willing, they can transfer the team at the last highest bid as the final price. At this most critical moment, the voice from the host sounded. There are still 60 seconds left. Please make a choice from the mentor of the Throne of War. If the deal is not reached within the time limit, the contested student Lin Xiao will freely choose which team to join according to the existing offer. I lost it. This time it's more than just sitting on the wax. Lin Xiao also wants to sit on the wax. Let him choose freely. How can he choose freely? Not to mention the Throne of War, the two mentors, Saint Crystal and Fury Flame, looked at themselves with anticipation. Who would they choose? I won't say that choosing this one will offend the other. The tutors won't hate him because of this, mainly because they are afraid of being jealous of others. As the only student who was traded and was competed by 3 parties, this kind of glorious treatment was not even enjoyed by those on the Golden Throne. At that time, no matter which team was added, many students who were dissatisfied, both inside and outside the team, wanted to give it a try. Try your own weight, and then you will have to bear it. Well, the one who hates me the most is the classmate who was used as a bargaining chip. I used a silver rank elite to exchange for a stone rank. I am very unwilling to change anyone else, and I will definitely hate myself. If there is a chance, we'll definitely come to anal him. But it doesn't seem to need to come, and it has already been recorded. He covered his head and didn't dare to look up, praying in his heart that several mentors would quickly reach a deal, and don't let himself choose. It may be that his prayer took effect, and it took only about 10 seconds for the War Throne to make a decision, saying, "If you want to trade, you can. We need at least 1 silver student as the reserve price. You each make an additional bid, and the one with the higher price will win. 1 silver and 1 black iron student. This is the bid from the Holy Crystal." After looking at the Raging Flames team, I heard the cold voice of the Raging Flames teacher. 2 silvers. PFF'd. Everyone was dumbfounded, even Lin Xiao himself was dumbfounded. If it wasn't for the wrong situation at this time, he would have thought it was a joke. Even the host was stunned for a while and asked, "Colonel Xie, are you sure this is your bid? Any questions?" No. The host waved his hands again and again. He could have any opinions, but it was true that he was curious about Lin Xiao. A student who only sat in the lowest first-order position actually asked a tutor to offer 2 silver students in exchange. People can't figure it out. Adding a silver can already be exchanged for the other 3 gold students in addition to the 6. Even if it had something to do in private, it wouldn't cost so much. He was curious about what she liked about him. Shaking his head, he looked to the other side of the Saint Crystal mentors. At this time, there was a dispute in the Saint Crystal mentor group. 2 of the 3 mentors thought that the 2 silvers had exceeded the standard, and one thought it was worth the cost. He persuaded his fellow mentors internally. Although his current strength is only equivalent to the bronze level, his potential is quite high. There is still more than half a month in the summer camp. Under our training, he will definitely reach the point where he is not inferior to the second echelon. If the development goes smoothly, it is possible to go further. But 2 of his companions disagreed. I don't deny that his potential is indeed very high, but such things as potential are uncertain. We cannot exchange more than 2 silver students from the 3rd tier who have proven their strength for future uncertainty. I agree with Lao Guo. The price at this time has exceeded our expectations, and I suggest abandoning the bidding. But we can. Old Li, we have already decided. The mentor known as Lao Li fell silent. The 3 of them were silent for a while. The leader of the team, Lu Wuji, said to the host, "We give up bidding. You will regret it, maybe regret it, but at this point, I feel I made the right decision." Hope so. The result of the bidding was abandoned by the Holy Crystal team. In the incredible surprise of everyone, the Furious Flames team exchanged 2 Silver Throne students from the War Throne team for a Stone Seat student, completing this magical transaction. So, the bloody fist mark on Lin Xiao's head was quickly replaced by a blazing flame. After completing this transaction, the next 4 teams made 1 or 2 transactions respectively. Among them, there were many transactions involving gold-level students, but it was surprising that there was no first transaction for the students below. 10 minutes passed quickly and the trading time was over. The host came to the front again and said, "According to the rules of this summer camp, the second stage will officially start, and the next will be the competition within the respective teams. It will last for 3 days. After 3 days, the 4 major teams will compete with each other. We will see you in 3 days. After speaking, the host turned into a stream of light and disappeared, and the 4 team mentors also rose into the sky. Lin Xiao saw that the space in front of him was distorted and his vision was elongated, and he knew that he had been teleported away from the field. After about 5 seconds, the distorted and elongated field of vision slowly became normal, and the distorted space slowly recovered. When the feet were on the ground, the eyes suddenly brightened, and the back of the head was seen in front of him. There were people everywhere, no acquaintances were seen, the rough frosted steel floor was underfoot, and the empty square stretched for thousands of meters. The ceiling above the head is hundreds of meters high, and there are metal platforms that are nearly 1 meter thick and the size of a basketball court suspended in the air. There are thick guardrails on the edge of the platform. Watch them with interest. Suddenly Lin Xiao heard a burst of laughter from a woman, turned his head quickly, and saw a group of female soldiers lying on the edge of the air platform on the other side, pointing and smiling at them. Obviously, they were taken directly back to the barracks, most likely the location of the raging flames. Just as they were looking around curiously, a slightly smaller metal platform in front moved over, and on it stood a man dressed in a tight green military uniform, with a B-waist and hips and a big chest, carrying 2 bars and 3 stars on his shoulders. An eye-catching female colonel. Not surprisingly, this should be a saint incarnation of Colonel Xie of the Raging Flames team. Her real body must be a true god, so even the radiation naturally emitted by the incarnation of divine power is not something they can bear. They can only use the incarnation of the saint, which Lin Xiao used before, and a projection of spiritual sense descends on the specially selected fleshly body. Walking in the mortal world in the container, the true body is naturally hidden in the portable divine realm. In fact, when their real bodies enter the subspace or the outer realm, there are no longer any restrictions between the realm and the real body, and they can call out the realm anytime and anywhere, and call believers out of the realm. This is the biggest difference from the native gods, and it is also the biggest advantage of new gods like them over native gods. Compared with the fixed kingdom of God, the kingdom of indigenous gods, which can only accommodate petitioners, the new god is the material plane and the kingdom of God. With the addition of God's domain, you can also use God's domain to offset the rule suppression when invading the indigenous kingdom of God. Chapter 121 Cruel Internal Elimination System. Generally, the suppression of the rules depending on the strength offset varies, but the same level can basically resist almost all the rules of the same level of the indigenous kingdom of God. That is to say, the kingdom of God with the same weak power has no effect on the new god with weak power. In this case, the new gods can directly rush into the indigenous kingdom of God, directly open the domain of the gods and summon believers to attack the kingdom of the indigenous gods, and go straight to the core of the enemy. This is the biggest advantage of the new gods over the native gods. It is completely unimaginable for the native gods to be able to easily and casually smash the dragon. The metal platform flew to the top of the crowd and stopped. Instructor Colonel Xie took 1 step from the metal platform. In a flash, the person disappeared and appeared again on a high platform not far away. Her face looked gorgeous, but it felt extremely cold. The sharp eyes made people dare not keep their eyes on her bumpy body. From now on, you are members of my Raging Flames team. The rules and my ranking of you have been sent to your wrist wheels when I brought you here. You have 5 minutes to understand. Everyone immediately lowered their heads and rolled a wrist. The light curtain lit up, and there was a piece of information that was not there before. Lin Xiao immediately checked it carefully. Congratulations to Lin Xiao for becoming a member of the Raging Flames team. Please read the following information carefully. Below is a long list of Ragefire's rules, and his role. The rules are very simple. All members of the Raging Flames team are divided into 4 different levels according to the positioning of the previous stage and the evaluation of their potential by the instructor. Which are the lower level corresponding to all students without seats, corresponding to all stone players, and the middle level of the black iron level corresponds to all the bronze players and some senior silver level players with insufficient evaluation potential, as well as the top level of several gold players and a small number of silver players with excellent evaluation potential. Lin Xiao, on the other hand, passed the original intermediate level and was rated as a superior. His face didn't change. This was expected. The beautiful colonel spent 2 silver players in exchange for him, so how could he keep himself in the middle class? In fact, he was glad that he didn't put himself on the top floor. That would be miserable, and now it's fine. After reading the rules, the second paragraph below is a very critical rule of elimination within the team. Not only the Raging Flames team, but other teams are the same. At this stage, a large part of the team members will be eliminated first, and then the remaining elites will compete with other teams. And the elimination rule. Lin Xiao couldn't help taking a deep breath. Actual combat. The internal elimination of the Raging Flames team is based on actual combat. The mentor will use the resources of the first expeditionary force to summon foreign creatures to invade the realm of all team members. Yes, it is different from the simulation battles used by the academic school. The military team starts with a real invasion. The difficulty of the invasion is marked with rich rewards. You can choose the difficulty yourself. If you want more and better rewards, you must choose the difficult one. Invasion is quite dangerous. You must know that this invasion is to guide the foreign creatures to directly invade the god's domain and attack the god's domain. If the battle is defeated, the god's domain will be greatly damaged, which will naturally have a huge impact on their strength. It is possible that a failure will lead to a sharp drop in strength and a slump. Not only defeat, even victory is not necessarily better. This loss is a real loss, and the believer's family will die as soon as they die. After reading this, Lin Xiao has only one emotion. As expected of the military, even a game is so ruthless to the enemy, and even more ruthless to himself. Even if Lin Xiao felt guilty after reading it, it is estimated that some students now regret agreeing to join the military team. But while the stakes are so great, the rewards offered by the military are heartwarming. There are more than a dozen ancient cards. The divine card is 99+, the divine domain card is 99+, and all kinds of golden mythical quality cards are 99+. The most exciting thing is the extra card slot, and the military is also marked on the outside of this reward. It is unique to the team, which means that only the military team has it, and the academy team does not have this stuff. This Lin Xiao believes that this extra card slot is obtained by extracting subspace energy from this super war fortress and converting it into source power, and the source power cannot be saved. It is only available in major super war fortresses, and only unique to the military. However, because this thing is transformed by extracting warp energy from the super war fortress, the major legions of the entire fortress are not divided into many. Even the non-commissioned officers within the legion have to make great achievements to get it. It is worth mentioning that there is no such thing as a divine card in the rewards provided by the summer camp committee or the team in the last round, and even the divine domain card is limited in number. According to the information on the previous summer camps, the official will not directly provide special cards such as divine cards, but during the summer camp, students will still be rewarded for completing some special difficult tasks. Chance to get. After all, if it is provided, some powerful summer camps can get more than 10 or 20 mythical level cards. Isn't it an exaggeration to choose all of the gods? 5 minutes passed quickly, and the crisp and powerful voice of the beautiful colonel sounded again. I believe you have already read it, so now you should know what you have in mind. I will give you 1 day to adjust your divine realm. After a day, the internal elimination will begin. Now I read the name and hear it. After a pause, her eyes fell on a slender figure standing in a small circle around the crowd, and she read. Qin Fengyan. This is the only girl among the 5 boys and 1 girl who came with Wu Zonglin. Cao Hanyu. This is one of 9 gold throne players. Shen Yuexin. Rich little aunt. Du Feiyong. Also a silver player. Zhe Qingfeng. Still a silver player. Lin Xiao. Another one. Exist. The strange eyes around him made him react quickly. Lin Huan. Still a silver player. Then she recited a few more names. A total of 7 silver players, 2 gold players, and a stone were called out, and a total of 10 people were called out. Several people lined up in front of her. Xie Yufei put her hands behind her back and said loudly. 1 day later, the team will be eliminated within the team. As long as you can persevere, in addition to the original rewards, each person will be rewarded with 2 mythical quality 5-star cards. If it's all right, disband now. Glancing at the 10 in front of him, he said. You guys stay. The gathered students left one after another, and soon there were only 10 of them left. Xie Yufei walked in front of them with his hands behind his back, and finally stopped in front of Lin Xiao, who was standing at the very edge. The strong pressure made him want to avoid his eyes, but he knew that he could not avoid it, so he just stared at her under the pressure, staring straight at her pretty and cold face. Full of courage but not enough murderousness. After a long while, she commented lightly, and looked away expressionlessly. Turning around and returning to her original position, she said in a deep voice. You are the 10 with the strongest strength and potential in my team. I have high expectations for you, and the test for you is also stronger. I will designate tasks for you at that time. I hope you will be mentally prepared. I lost it. Lin Xiao wailed in his heart. It's a good thing to open a small stove in the school teacher, but it is not a good thing to open a small stove in the army. It is true that this is the long-term management looking at it differently. It would be better if the reward is completed, but the risk is quite high. He does not believe that the test she designated will be simple, and it is definitely a more difficult task. However, the superior's kindness cannot be refused, she said. Basically it has been determined, resistance is useless. Okay. You can also disband. The task will be sent to you tomorrow morning, so be prepared. After she finished speaking, she turned around. A door of light appeared in front of her, stepped into it and disappeared. This is the positioning transmission ability that comes with the true God after being conferred, without any requirements, and can be released a certain number of times a day at will. As soon as the instructor left, the 10 people present relaxed at once, and everyone looked at each other, but did not speak for a while. Only Shen Yuexin walked in front of her and asked with a hint of curiosity on her beautiful face. I remember that your strength is very average. How can you make your tutor look down on you? You don't hesitate to exchange 2 silver students. A few people around heard the curious glances at the same time, including Qin Fengyan and Cao Hanyu, the 2 gold players, who were also curious. He scratched his head, thought about it, spread his hands and said. Maybe it's my potential that caught my mentor's attention. That's the only reason, nothing else is possible. Your potential, she blinked her eyes and asked curiously. Can you show me? He shook his head. Not convenient now. When is it convenient? He thought about it and said. Wait until no one is there. Yi. As soon as the words fell, several male students who were listening attentively looked at him with strange eyes at the same time. After a few seconds, the 2 girls also showed stunned expressions. One showed contempt, while Shen Yuexin's pretty face was flushed, and she pinched his waist and twisted it hard. Pain. Auntie dares to molest me and doesn't want to live anymore. Where do you want to go? I mean, I'll show you when no one is there. Dare to tease me? I'll tell your grandma to go. Lin Xiao. Back in the dormitory, I rubbed my aching waist and lay on the bed looking at the sky with a speechless face. However, after thinking about it, a smile suddenly appeared on his face, and it was really heartwarming to recall that Shen Yuexin's already unbelievably beautiful face showed a shy look. He couldn't help smacking his lips, and his heart was a little swaying. If he usually had the courage to ask her out, but it would be too tight to have time. Packing up his mood, he entered the realm of the gods. It was only 1 day of preparation time, and it was less than a year in God's domain. He had to prepare within this year. It is very simple, it is to modulate the race of the black scale Naga to make it transform and evolve. This is the only way for him to rapidly increase his strength in a short period of time. He happens to be holding 29 units of creation energy, as well as a mythical quality talent card and specialty card, as well as his previous experience in making murlocs. Combined with modern biological genetics, it is believed that the ideal Naga evolution direction can be formulated. First of all, first issue a divine illusion to appease the Naga, so as not to wait for the next modulation to cause their panic. Then, take out the black-scaled Naga species card that has been integrated into God's domain and throw it into God's domain, and then take out the mythic talent card, harsh environment adaptation, and the mythical specialty card, high toughness, decompose them separately, and extract the essence. The 2 cards were kept untouched first, and he needed to use the energy of good fortune to deeply adjust the genes of the black-scaled Naga. This point has the experience of adjusting the murlocs before. Consuming the energy of creation, the Rubik's Cube began to rotate slowly, and Lin Shao's spirit was also integrated into the Naga's gene pool, which was integrated into the Murlocs, Gnolls, snakes, goblins, and bears respectively. In the gene pool of the 5 species of goblins, they began to carefully strip off the other 4 bloodlines except the Murlocs. Chapter 122 The First Transformation and Evolution of the Black Scale Naga. According to Lin Shao's vision, all the bloodlines of other species except Murlocs will be stripped away, leaving only a part of valuable genes to be fused with pure Murloc bloodlines. For example, the shape of the human snake tail, which is the characteristic of Naga, does not need to be changed. Then the talents of advanced strange power and regeneration, and thick scales can also be retained, and then strengthened through the energy of good fortune, or merged with other talents into a more powerful talent. In addition, there are several specialties that can also be retained, such as fast walking and ape arm, which can be combined with the talent of the Murloc. In addition to these visible talents, he will also excavate the hidden talents of Naga, just like excavating the hidden gene pool of Murlocs to synthesize the powerful talents of water elves. The library unearthed some of the genetic talents hidden in the ancient evolution of these creatures due to environmental changes. Lin Shao felt that the use of the magic cube was too rough in the past, and he could dig deeper into the deeper connotation of the cards, find a more suitable card fusion formula, and maximize the effect of different cards. In reality, one day in God's domain is 1 year, and there is still more than half a year. There is enough time for him to dig out the gene pool of several bloodlines. The premise is that the energy of creation is sufficient. But at this point, Lin Shao is still quite willing. Although the energy of good fortune is rare, the black-scaled Naga is now his foundation. As long as he can adjust the transformation and evolve well, he will be willing to use up all the energy of good fortune left. In fact, it is impossible to use all of them. But it's almost there. As the gene banks of each bloodline were excavated by him, he suddenly discovered that 29 units of good fortune energy actually used 12 points. However, this is just the beginning. Next, it is necessary to fuse and strengthen the excavated genetic talents, and finally condense into a complete new species that conforms to the laws of creation, which must consume a lot of creation energy. First of all, Lin Shao stripped off all the bloodlines of the black-scaled Naga except the Murlocs. At the moment of stripping, he sensed that the strength of the Naga, which was now approaching 1,000 in the entire God domain, was weakened by a large margin. Murlocs are just stronger. But he had a divine prophecy before, and many devout Naga did not panic because of this, and all gathered near the tribal altar to pray. Through divine metaphors, the Naga's line of faith is still as thick as before, and the pure power of faith flows continuously along this line of faith, connecting believers and gods, without any fluctuations. Even Lin Shao admired himself for this. In terms of hurting believers, his talent was indeed very powerful. It is extremely rare that devout beliefs make believers believe in their own gods, so that the beliefs do not fluctuate in the face of such circumstances. The believers believed that Lin Shao naturally couldn't let them down. He settled down and started the next stage of fusion. First of all, the existing talents are counted, namely the water elf inherited from the Murloc, and then the original talents of the Naga, strange power, regeneration, thick scales, and the 5-star mythical quality talent card obtained in the summer camp, harsh environment adapt. The second is the specialties, which are the flexible movement, vigilance, water element resistance inherited from the Murlocs, and the specialties possessed by Naga, fast walking, ape arms, and the 5-star mythical qualities specialties obtained in the summer camp. High toughness. In addition to these, he also selected several hidden talents and specialties from the Naga's gene pool, which are: the infinite growth talent comes from the ancestors of the snake people. It is well known that snakes theoretically can shed their skins and grow indefinitely as long as they live long enough. The second is the biological nerve poisonous talent. There are 3 kinds, the effects are different but the power is great, all of them are from the ancestors of some kind of poisonous snake. The third kind of talent comes from the most glorious era of ancient goblins. It is said that in ancient times there was a goblin empire with very powerful goblin technology. It once ruled a huge main plane in a large half-crystal wall system. It is said that the goblin empire is the most brilliant in peak times even tried to create virtual gods. It is a powerful body with power comparable to a true god, controlled by a goblin with powerful spiritual power, and has a power comparable to that of a true god. The goblin's attempt to encroach on the forbidden area of the gods angered all the true gods of the Crystal Wall system. The huge goblin empire collapsed overnight, and the goblins were also cursed by the gods and lost their smart minds and wisdom. Over time, the current goblins have long since fallen. Forgetting the glory of ancient times, it has become synonymous with thieves and robbers, despicable and dirty. Lin Shao deceived the cursed seal of the gods through the energy of creation, and stole some of the glory of the ancient goblins. Because it is only a part, this talent is called the afterglow of the goblins. The IMBA with the same effect allows the talent owner to inherit a random one of the 3 ancient goblin talents. The 3 major talents of ancient goblins: engineering, alchemy, and magical creation. Note that this random is obtained by each Naga randomly, which means that this Naga may obtain engineering talent, and another Naga may obtain alchemy talent, which is different, not one of the 3 talents unified by all Naga. In addition to these few talents, there are several talents that feel useless, such as the brutality and cunning of the Null, which is useless. Classifying all talents or specialties in the Rubik's Cube space, Lin Shao glanced at these talents and specialties, pondered, and had a draft in his heart. First, take the mythical quality talent, adapt to harsh environments as the base material, that is, the foundation, and then use the Murloc's water elf talent, as well as the water element resistance specialty, the highly poisonous talent and several useless talent specialties. A wave of anger was thrown into it, consuming the energy of creation, and began to fuse and strengthen. 10 minutes later, the fusion was completed, and the creation energy also consumed a full 3 units, merging an unknown talent. Unknown talent. This species can adapt to any harsh environment, has a very strong resistance to water elements, cold and toxins, and is immune to slowing and sluggishness. After thinking for a while, he named this talent, Son of Nature. After a short rest, he took out the mythical quality specialty, High Toughness, as the base material, and then took out the strange power, Regeneration, Thick Scales, and the infinite growth talent of the Snake Man, put in the energy of creation, and started the second round of fusion enhancement. This time, the consumption of good fortune energy is 2 units more than the previous one. It consumes 5 units of good fortune energy, and a new unknown talent is merged. Yes, although it is based on expertise, the fusion is indeed talent. Unknown talent. Creatures with this talent are very powerful, with +3 physique and +3 strength, will remove all their weaknesses, be immune to lethality, greatly reduce the negative status and damage from spells, reduce certain physical damage, and have a very powerful regenerative capacity and vitality. Basically combining the fusion talent and strengthening it, Lin Shao had an idea, and named this talent, Hegemony, in a bad way. It means that it has powerful life regeneration and status resistance like the boss in the game. Next, he combined the 3 feats of fast walking, flexible movement and alertness into one, consuming 2 units of good fortune energy into a powerful new feat. The fusion of new specialties combines the advantages of the 3 specialties and strengthens them. LV1 level can increase 2 points of agility, and greatly increase the reaction and perception. As for the last remaining specialty Ape Arm, there is no strengthening for the time being, and the ready-made ones are used directly. Mainly, this feat itself is perfect. The effect is to be able to dual-wield 2-handed weapons at the same time, that is, to hold a 2-handed sword or 2-handed axe in each hand. He doesn't know what he can strengthen if this feat is strengthened. Or in the future, it can be combined with some special specialties to form new powerful specialties. At this stage, it is enough for the time being, so there is no need to waste the energy of creation. 2 talents, 2 feats, few but powerful. As for the afterglow of the goblin, this talent Lin Shao has retained. This talent is obviously a creative talent. It is a complete waste to give Naga a pure fighting species, and it can also free up a talent slot. He plans to save it first, and consider creating a special auxiliary race when God's domain creates a 3rd species in the future. You must know that no matter what species, the talent skills and specialties that can be loaded are limited, not infinite. Otherwise, the children of the big family will load a species with dozens or hundreds of skills, and even the weakest species can be supernatural. How many talent skills can be loaded is related to the specialties and the species level. The more powerful species can be loaded naturally, the more. Therefore, Lin Shaoxi likes to integrate these talents and skills, that is, to combine them into more powerful talents and skills, and also to save talents and skills, and kill two birds with one stone. After doing this, all the preparations are ready, and the next step is to perfectly integrate the purified Naga bloodline with these two talents and two specialties, which also requires good fortune energy, and there is still a lot. Lin Shao took a look at the remaining 7 units of good fortune energy, and it is estimated that there will be no time left. Fortunately, the most crucial murlocs and Naga have been genetically modulated and strengthened. This is his basic plate, where the foundation lies. After these two have been strengthened, it is okay for the others to have no fortune-telling energy. I took a deep breath, my mind moved, the magic cube of good fortune slowly turned, the Naga bloodline in the center of the cube began to rotate, and 4 groups of 4 streams of light slowly converged to the center with the rotation of the cube, and strands of fortune energy converged from the surrounding to the center of the cube, and these 4 streamers converged into 4 thicker streams of different colors and slowly injected into the Naga bloodline. Just like alchemy, it is done slowly with a slow fire, not in a hurry or dry. About 2 hours later, the talents and expertise of each mixed with a unit of good fortune energy merged into the Naga bloodline one after another, turning into a mass of chaos exuding mysterious fluctuations. Lin Shao slowly closed his eyes and carefully understood the laws of creation emanating from this chaos. Every time a new species is created, the law of creation will appear. His strengthening this time is equivalent to rebirthing the Naga species, and the law of creation contained in it is so strong that he has an illusion in his heart. No, it's not an illusion, it's real. He opened his God's panel, and found that the divinity column had changed from the previous 4+1 to 4+2, which meant that as long as he consumed 100 million pure faith points, he could condense a little more divinity. He clearly understood in his heart that this was a gift from the law of creation. Whenever an unprecedented new species was created, he would receive a gift from the law of creation in the universe. Reaching out and picking up a recondensed card with a rich crystal light, its new attributes jumped in front of him. Race: Big Naga. Category: Subhuman. Level: High Race. Occupation: None. Talent: Son of Nature, Overlord. Skills: None. Specialty: Lightning Reflex LV1, Ape Arm. Constitution: 1.5 plus 3, you have a bison-like constitution. Strength: 1.5 plus 3, natural power. Agility: 1 plus 2, this is an excellent amateur sprinter. Spirit: 1.5, your spirit is stronger than ordinary people, combined with excellent talents, you can become a spellcasting profession after training. Evaluation: this is a new humanoid species that has never appeared before and can adapt to any environment, and it has a strong innate force. Chapter 123 High-level species Big Naga seeking monthly ticket. This is the attribute table of the new Big Naga. As expected, it has been promoted to a higher creature, so he named it the Big Naga, which is different from the past. This attribute table does not include the Almighty Knight profession. This is only the most basic Big Naga attribute table, but only the most basic Big Naga is comparable to the 3rd level arms. If you are promoted to the Naga warrior loading profession, it is appropriate elite tier 4 arms. It is a pity that the energy of creation is not enough, and his understanding of creation is not enough. He has not been able to add an evolutionary chain between the murlocs and the Big Naga. He can only wait for the creation laws that he masters in the future to be stronger, and enough accumulation. The energy of creation can be tried. He had a hunch in his heart that adding an evolutionary chain between the two species would require at least more fortune-telling energy than the modulation of the Great Naga. Lin Shao squeezed this ancient divine card with rich crystal light in his hand, kissed it lightly on his lips, and tossed it lightly. The Naga who gathered around the tribal altar to pray in the next second suddenly shuddered, a faint bloody light burst out from the whole body, the muscles swelled rapidly, the scales on the body surface collapsed, the skin cracked, and blood flowed out of the cracked skin. Dye all over the body, like a blood man. This is because the blood of other species in the Naga's body has been deprived. When the new card is integrated into the god's domain, it naturally begins to transform the existing Naga, stripping off the excess blood in their bodies. It seems painful and terrifying, but in fact, It was really painful, equivalent to using brutal means to peel the skin and cut the flesh to draw blood. It was extremely painful. For this reason, Lin Xiao personally took action, consuming 100,000 faith points to cast the divine technique, seawater essence, and the blue light fell from the sky, covering most of the tribe and the murlocs around them to ease their pain. At this time, Lin Xiao has already gathered 4 points of divinity, and his strength is stronger than before. The effect of using seawater essence with 100,000 faith points is also several times stronger than when he had only a little divinity. If he were to face the demigods at this time, he would have to consume tens of millions of faith points to condense the golden spear to deal damage to demigods. Now he only needs between 3 million and 4 million. The faith value can cause the same damage as the original 10 million faith value. The stronger the divinity, the stronger the strength, and the efficiency of the use of strength will be different. Therefore, for divine beings who are not conferred gods, divinity is the foundation and the core of power. After becoming a demigod, both divinity and priesthood are the core of strength. After being conferred a god, the fundamental core is the godhead and priesthood. With the passage of time, layers of blood flowed out of the Naga's bodies, but they didn't see their aura declining. Instead, they could feel a strong vitality gushing out from their bodies, and the aura became stronger, and soon surpassed the previous state. At the same time, at the moment when the breath surpassed the previous one, Naga's body began to change. Or evolution. The evolution of the big Naga has not changed much from before. It is still a human snake tail, and its body is covered with scales. However, because the blood of the snake, goblin, and gnoll has been eliminated, only the pure murloc remains. Thicker and more muscular. When the evolution is coming to an end and the new thick scales are about to take shape, the big Naga at this time has a height of 2.5 meters even if the basics are not advanced. The tail is about 3 meters long below the waist, and the total length is nearly 5.5 meters. This is just a Naga who has just grown up, and the level of the arms is level 3. If the advanced is a big Naga warrior, it is a 4th level arm, with a height of about 2.8 meters, a tail of more than 3.5 meters, and a total length of 6 meters. Then advanced to the 5th level big Naga warrior, with a height of more than 3 meters, a tail length of 4 meters, and a total length of more than 7 meters. Generally speaking, the upper limit of regular advancement of intermediate species is 5. Big Naga is now a high-level species, and can naturally be advanced again. Beyond the 5th level, it is a 6th-level extraordinary creature, known as a whale hunter. When the advanced level is the 6th-level whale rider, its body size can instantly exceed 12 meters, and its extraordinary power can be awakened. The new big Naga has a lifespan that is slightly inferior to that of humans. The theoretical lifespan is limited to 80 years. If you advance to the 6th level, you will increase your lifespan by 20 years. Once you are promoted to the 6th level extraordinary life, the lifespan will instantly reach 200 years old. The gestation period is 8 months, 2 years of infancy, 3 years of infancy, about 5 years of juvenile, and the 10th year is considered adulthood. The adult time is much shorter than that of humans, but the corresponding reproductive capacity is not only far less than that of humans, but also far lower than before evolution. As the creator of the big Naga, Lin Xiao is well aware that the reproduction ability of the big Naga is quite low. Let's put it this way, if the previous 1,000 black-scaled Naga could give birth to 200 newborns a year, then the current 1,000 large Naga have absolutely less than 100 newborns a year, which is not only half, generation after generation. What is missing is calculated in geometric multiples. Fortunately, after loading the God's Domain Heaven card, the God's Domain increased a certain reproduction speed, which slightly made up for the defect of the low reproduction speed. Moreover, he also possesses the extraordinary power of reproduction, and he uses this extraordinary power to give birth if he has nothing to do. I believe that the reproduction speed will not slow down much. The strength of the nearly 1,000 Naga who has completed the transformation is several times stronger than that of the original. 2/3 of the previous Naga themselves have been promoted. Although not all members have transitioned according to the original basics, it has not been cleared. Those who have been promoted before are basically at the 4th or 5th level now, but not at the 6th level. Among them, the most changed is naturally the epic hero Slarda, who Still in the process of transformation, a huge blood cell wrapped him, and it has not come out yet. But as the Lord of God's domain, Lin Shao is very clear that Slarda's strength is growing rapidly at this time, and has already crossed a certain boundary, jumping to the 6th level extraordinary level. What is extraordinary? Literally, beyond the mundane. To use a common metaphor, you can refer to the kobold dragon vein warlock Lin Shao has seen, that is pseudo-transcendence. The reason why it is called pseudo-extraordinary is because the innate spells of the kobold dragon vein warlock have reached the extraordinary level, but they have not. The reason why the kobold is powerful is that he awakened the dragon bloodline in his body, and all spells are bestowed by the bloodline. The spell of the dragon vein warlock is definitely very powerful, but his body is not strong. The key is that the foundation of the kobold is here. Even if it is strengthened by the dragon blood, it will not be much stronger, so this kind of pseudo-extraordinary, with extraordinary spells, is created. But without a powerful physical body, the spells he possesses are also random. When facing a real extraordinary creature, once he gets close, he basically suffers death. The real extraordinary creatures have been able to face the terrifying spells of the kobold dragon warlock, and the kobolds can't resist the attack of the real extraordinary creatures at all. So just like what Lin Shao thought after seeing Wu Zonglin's kobold dragon vein warlock phalanx, if he had 10 times the cannon fodder resistance at that time and could rush to the kobold dragon vein warlock phalanx, he might be defeated. 10 times the cannon fodder is definitely impossible to defeat Wu Zonglin at this stage, but it is possible to strengthen his own family, and it has now been achieved. If you can gather a large number of 6th order big Naga whale hunting knights, it is not impossible to compete with Wu Zonglin. Well, it is possible, theoretically possible. In fact, even if there are 1,000 great Naga whale hunting knights who have all risen to the 6th rank, they may not be able to beat each other. After all, there is a kobold dragon vein warlock phalanx, a wave of no-dead angle spells covering several kilometers. Bombing, it is hard to say whether the whale rider can rush past. No matter how weak the kobold dragon vein warlock is, the power of the spell is a solid supernatural level. Without a little water, even the whale hunter knights of the same supernormal level can't stand it after a few waves of bombardment. In addition to this, there is another problem. That is, the 6th order Naga whale hunting knight is not easy to be promoted, and the extraordinary rank must require countless fierce battles of life and death to be promoted. Great Naga. Or, get this out. He has a mythical quality 5-star card in his hand, a bloody arena, and can summon a bloody arena and put it in the realm of the gods for his family to fight in it to increase combat experience and professional experience. It can allow the family to enter the battle when there is no battle, and improve the combat experience and professional experience, so as not to be fine for a long time. The strength of the family in the god's domain cannot be increased. Just now there is an extra card slot. Lin Shao thought about it for a while and decided to do it, just as Slarda hasn't finished transforming yet. Throwing the card into the magic cube, he thought for a while, and consumed 1 unit of fortune energy. At this point, he only had 2 units of fortune energy left, and the 34 units of fortune energy obtained by decomposing the fate judgment scale were used up. But it was worth it, quite worth it. In Lin Shao's words, these 34 units of fortune-telling energy completely transformed the entire divine realm from head to toe. His god's domain had great potential at the beginning, and now not only has infinite potential, but his own strength has also increased a lot. A few minutes later, the bloody arena absorbed a bit of fortune-telling energy to strengthen it. As he expected, it broke through the golden mythological quality and transformed into an ancient god card exuding crystal light. 5-star building card, Ancient Arena. Ancient summons an ancient arena and places it in the god's domain. Effect 1. Arena. The ancient arena can provide competitive gladiators of different specifications, with a maximum of 1000 vs 1000. If you defeat the enemy in the arena, you can get a lot of combat experience and professional experience, and feedback to the Lord of the Gods. Effect 2. Ancient Power. The ancient arena contains ancient power, which can more easily stimulate the hidden power in the organism, and there is a very small probability that the gladiator will break through the upper limit of species or be promoted to hero. Note: the ancient arena will consume 1 million faith points at a time. This ancient god card only has 2 effects. but the second effect is to make Lin Xiao's eyes light up. If the effect is only a medium-sized arena, the second effect will directly increase the value of this card by hundreds of times. This thing can actually make gladiators break through the upper limit. That's pretty scary. No matter how small the chance is, it is still a chance. 10 times will not make 100 times, and 100 times will not make 1,000 times. As long as it is possible, try thousands of times, and the smallest chance is 100%. As for the consumption of 1 million faith points that was activated once, he directly ignored it. It may be a bit expensive now, but when there are more and more family members in the future, this consumption will not matter at all. In addition, as a miracle building, Lin Xiao, as the Lord of the God's domain, can get feedback on the various skills and experience of all the family members in the ancient arena, that is, he can also get it. However, this is only pure skill, and it is useless to him as the Lord of God's domain. After all, he consumes the power of belief or bombardment with divine power when he does it, and it is almost impossible for him to use pure skills to fight the enemy. Chapter 124 Ancient Arena and Advanced Slarda Weekend Plus. This is naturally the first time to put this ancient arena into the realm of the gods. Lin Xiao put his eyes on the realm of the gods, swept back and forth in the realm of the gods, and finally delineated a place, highlands. Then release the divine metaphor and give the family a miracle. Reaching out and pointing to the ancient god card, it shattered, and the crystal light in the sky turned into a huge column of crystal light that fell from the sky and slammed into the earth. A circle of crystal light like an explosion shock wave quickly spread to thousands of meters away, covering a large area of mountains and forests. The terrain of this area is dominated by mountains and forests. After the God's Paradise card is loaded, lush forests and bushes are formed, various insects are prosperous, and the ecosystem is already perfect. However, as the crystal light swept across, all of this was annihilated. In the place where the crystal light swept across the sky, an incomparably huge building outline slowly emerged. This building looks very similar to the ancient Roman Colosseum, but it is more grand and ancient. The weathered rock structures are piled up, and the huge stone pillars carved with gladiator warriors surround the entire arena, supporting the diameter of nearly 1,000 meters. The huge ancient arena. When this ancient arena was formed, even Lin Xiao was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect this thing to be so large, with a diameter of up to 1 kilometer, which already took up a large area of the land of the gods. Fortunately, fishing is the main staple food of the family members in the divine domain now, supplemented by cattle herding and wild hunting, as well as picking some berries. There are not many fields for reclamation and cultivation, and the family can still survive. The requirements for the fields are not high. At this time, God's domain has formed a perfect ecology after loading the God's domain paradise card. There are random wild fruit trees, berry bushes, etc. everywhere in the wild. Move, you will never starve to death. Not to mention anything else. Just the resources in the Sea of God's domain are enough to feed them. Lin Xiao estimated that based on the current abundance of God's domain, it is estimated that the food crisis will not start until the number reaches about 30,000. Now the God's domain race is only about 15,000, which is still early. After a few minutes, the outline of the arena formed by Jingguang finally took shape. At the moment of forming, Lin Xiao vaguely heard a long horn sound from ancient times. When the ancient arena was formed, many relatives who were kneeling on the ground waiting for the miracle several kilometers away prayed loudly. Praise you, Supreme Creator, God of Naga and Murlocs. Show great power and mighty might in the presence of your faithful believers. The might of the Lord is unmatched, and the glory of the Lord is shining upon us. For these relatives, this huge building that fell from the sky is indeed a miracle, and it is the great manifestation of the gods they believe in. Witnessing this miracle, their faith will go further and become more pious. After praying, many relatives approached the ancient arena curiously and came to the edge of the arena. They touched the huge building with a pilgrimage. Lin Xiao has not opened this ancient arena for the time being. He is going to wait for Slarda to wake up and let him, the Pope, control the opening or closing of this ancient arena. Although it is inaccessible, it does not hinder the family members' curiosity and exploration of this huge building, but they are not allowed to enter. At this time, after waiting for a long time, the blood cocoon transformed by the epic hero Slarta finally changed. The blood cocoon shell has become hard at this time, exuding a faint coercion, and with a slight click, the blood cocoon cracked. It was like a crack in the glass, which instantly expanded and cracked into countless cracks, and the entire blood cocoon instantly collapsed into countless fragments, revealing a huge figure curled up in it. As the figure seemed to wake up from a deep sleep, a powerful breath also woke up from the deep sleep, and a faint blood light gushed out from the huge body, slowly condensing into a circle of rich crystal blood light, and quickly outlined a complex and mysterious pattern spread like lightning in a flash, extending to 500 meters away to form a blood halo with substantial lines. The epic hero Slarta, wake up. Lin Xiao checked its properties for the first time. Hero. Slarta. Race. Big Naga. Level. Epic. Hero Halo. Vampire. 25% of the damage dealt to the enemy will be converted into life energy to feed back to yourself. The halo radiation range is 1000 meters in diameter, and allies within the range get half of the effect. Hero General Talent. Epic Hero Constitution. Immunity to death damage, high regeneration, physical damage reduction by 25%, overall resistance plus 25%. Hero's Unique Talent. Heroic Body. Creatures with this talent are very powerful, with plus 30% physique, plus 30% strength, plus 20% agility, remove all their own weaknesses, immune to lethality and death, cannot be slowed down, greatly weaken negative status and damage from spells, greatly reduce physical damage, and have very powerful regeneration ability and vitality. Hero Skills. Sprint LV2, Salted Fish Stab LV2, Thunder Smash LV2. Constitution. 31 plus 10 points. You have an extraordinary constitution, you have a strong regeneration ability, even a broken limb can grow back within a certain period of time. Strength. 38 plus 13 points. You have extraordinary strength, and your strength can easily overwhelm beasts such as dire bears. Agility. 25 plus 9 points. You have extraordinary agility, speed and reaction beyond the imagination of mortals. Spirit. 20 plus 7 points. Your spirit is beyond the reach of mortals, even without training, you can sense the existence of magic elements. Comment. This is a very powerful epic hero, he is the mountain, he is the rock, he is the power. Slarta has been upgraded. Although there is no level of heroes, the template is still an epic hero, but his current state is indeed upgraded. To put it bluntly, it is equivalent to upgrading from level 1 to level 4 or 5. First of all, the diameter of the hero halo has changed from the previous 100-meter diameter to the current 1-kilometer diameter, which greatly improves the practicality. The second point is that he inherited the talent of dominance from the Big Naga race and transformed it into a unique hero talent. The third point, all hero skills are upgraded by 1 level. The fourth point, of course, is the explosion of all attributes. At this time, Slarta's strength has entered the 6th level from the previous level 5, and because of the unique talent of the heroic hegemony, his strength is definitely the strongest in the 6th order extraordinary level. According to the general division in civilization, the 5-level attribute is between 10 and 20. The 6th order extraordinary level attribute exceeds 20 points, the highest is 50 points. Slarta's physique has reached 41 points under the increase of unique talent, and the strength has exceeded the 50-point upper limit of the 6th order extraordinary level, reaching 51 high. In addition, because of Danaga's natural sun talent, Danaga can now be regarded as an all-weather species, and it is no longer limited to aquatic species, so there is no difference between land speed or water speed. Now Danaga does not care about water. The land speed is the same. Of course, Slarta doesn't have the talent of Son of Nature on his attribute table, but that doesn't mean he doesn't, it's just hidden. As soon as Slarta woke up, Lin Xiao's voice like thunder sounded in his ear. My most devout child, an evil is coming in the near future, and I want you to lead other children to prepare for the evil invasion. Slarta held the anchor in his hand and lowered his head. At this time, his body that was more than 20 meters long exuded suffocating pressure like a hill. His calm and powerful voice sounded. Supreme Creator, your most devout believers have heard your call, and I am ready to defend the glory of my Lord and dedicate everything for my Lord. But it's not enough. You need more powerful strength. I have given you a miracle. You still have half a year to prepare. Entering the miracle battle and training will make you stronger. Lin Xiao's voice was low and powerful, and the agitation of divine power exuded a stern divine might, which made mortals dare not look directly. I need more elite warriors. As you wish, Slarda made a solemn promise. At this point, Lin Xiao withdrew his divine sense after passing the information of the ancient arena to Slarda, and he believed that Slarda could do it. The next step is to wait. There is still more than half a day before the team's internal elimination, and it will take half a year to replace it with God's domain. I hope that Slarda can cultivate a group of elite warriors, and I also hope that this ancient arena can be powerful. He now holds more than 280 million chaotic belief power, which cannot be converted into divine power or condensed divinity for self-use, but it is still no problem to use it as trading currency or as divine power squandering, and it is even more important to charge the ancient arena. No problem. After Slarda received the divine metaphor, the huge body slowly stretched, and the incomparably powerful breath rushed in all directions like a tide, and countless naga fish gathered from all directions. He threw the slightly small anchor in his hand to the ground, and a circle of cracks spread from the deep pit, and a huge sound spread all over the place. Lin Xiao overlooked the realm of the gods in the kingdom of God, and saw that all the murlocs and the big naga, led by Slarda, came to the edge of the ancient competition. Under his order, some of the naga entered the ancient arena to start training, and the other began to clean up. The dense jungle of the ancient arena turns around, carving out a path in the lush jungle between the arena and the tribe. At the same time, he also mobilized the murlocs to quarry stones and cut down trees from several hills on the edge of the god's domain, as if he was preparing to rebuild a larger tribe. However, with a large number of stones collected and a large number of trees felled and piled up, Lin Xiao was surprised to find that Slarda did not want to rebuild a larger tribe, he actually wanted to build a city. This made him very surprised and very happy. Sure enough, he was his most devout believer and won his heart. Lin Xiao has had this idea for a long time. As the scale of the family grows, the loose tribal form is out of date, but as a god, it is impossible for him to take the initiative to interfere, and he can only hint and let them understand. Unexpectedly, he hadn't begun to hint, and Slarda took the initiative to start building the city as if he had guessed his idea. The appearance of the city not only represented the transformation of the family within the divine realm from a loose tribal system to an urban settlement system, but also represented a big step in the evolution of civilization, and also meant a huge change in the church. In the future, try to add more than 6,000 extra yards every day, and try to add 2 chapters every week. Chapter 125 God's Domain Invasion Blood Legion. Half a year is almost fleeting, and earth-shaking changes have also taken place in God's domain. Slarda almost seemed to have guessed his idea. The city he built was located at the mouth of the river. It was built according to the only small river in God's domain that went out to the sea, and then sent murlocs and naga to artificially widen the river and dig deeper. It was less than 10 meters wide and expanded to more than 50 meters wide, and the extra 40 meters were dug out abruptly. Fortunately, both the murlocs and the naga are powerful, the huge manpower and the small river itself is not long, the meandering less than 5 kilometers, the project is not big. The city was built on the south side of the river mouth. The diameter of the first stage was about 2 kilometers. At this time, a rough embryo had been built, only a foundation and a city wall less than 3 meters high. In addition, a stone road was built from the city to the ancient arena. Every day, a large number of murlocs or nagas go to the ancient arena to hone their combat skills and experience. In the past 6 months, Lin Xiao has opened the ancient arena almost every day. This thing can only be opened once a day. One day is 1 million belief points. In the past 200 days, a total of 200 million belief points have been consumed. Most of the murlocs are piled up to the upper limit of the 3rd level murlocs, and also include a large number of 3rd level and a small number of 4th level all-around warrior occupation levels. The two are superimposed, and the combat power is not inferior to any medium race. The big naga is a little worse, and it cannot be said that it is worse, it can only be said that it is lower than his expectations. Lin Xiao originally wanted to see if he could use the ancient arena to train a group of 6th-level extraordinary whale-hunting knights, but this batch of big naga has been cultivated for so long, and almost all of the more than 900 adult naga have advanced to the 5th level. Great Naga warriors, but only 16 of the 6th order Great Naga whale hunting knights. On the contrary, their occupation levels have reached the upper limit of the all-around warrior occupation level of 5, and the 2 are superimposed, and the combat power of these 5-level Naga warriors has also reached the upper limit of the 5th level, which is almost the strongest level under the extraordinary. The ancient arena is indeed amazing, but the time is too short. If he is given another year or two and consumes another 350 million faith points, he may be able to advance to the extraordinary rank. However, Lin Xiao is still quite satisfied with this. 1 or 2 years are only 2 years in God's domain, and it is only 2 days in the main world. As long as you have enough faith, you can obtain elite warriors in large numbers. What a beautiful thing, he is not satisfied. If he can, he really wants to keep farming so slowly until all the staff are extraordinary. Unfortunately, the time is limited. On this day, he was observing a battle between 1013th level Murloc leaders vs 105th level Naga warriors in the ancient arena. It says, Student Lin Xiao, the elimination of the team has begun. You can choose one of the following 3 tasks to complete. The difficulty and degree of completion of the task will affect the rewards and evaluations you get. Mission 1. Wild Beasts Low Difficulty. Mission Introduction. A space rift connecting the unknown wild plane is taking shape in your divine domain. After the countdown is over, there will be savage beasts from the wild plane invading your divine domain. Please kill all the invading beasts within 5 hours. Beast. Mission Reward. 3 mythical quality 5-star cards of the specified type. Chip 1. The number of invading beasts is between 10,000 and 15,000, and 1 to 3 superhuman beasts will be randomly selected. Chip 2. You can concede defeat at any time to stop the invasion, but conceding defeat means you will be eliminated. Chip 3. If you kill the invaders in advance, you can choose the wild plane after the anti-invasion space crack, and you can get additional rewards depending on your performance. Mission 2. Castle of Blood Medium Difficulty. Mission Introduction. A space fissure connecting a certain plane is taking shape in your domain of God, facing the castle of a vampire count. The space fissure has attracted the attention of the vampire count. After the countdown is over, it will be attacked by the Blood Castle. Please hit repel the attack of the Blood Legion of the vampire count. Mission Reward. 5 mythical quality 5-star cards of the specified type. Chip 1. The Invasion Blood Legion is composed of blood slaves and blood servants. The number of invasions ranges from 20,000 to 30,000, and 2 to 5 extraordinary rank powerhouses are randomly selected. Chip 2. You can concede defeat at any time to stop the invasion, but conceding defeat means you will be eliminated. Chip 3. If you kill the invaders in advance, you can choose to counter-invade the Blood Castle, and you can get additional rewards depending on your performance. If you kill the vampire count and destroy the Blood Castle, you can get an extra card slot. Mission 3. Undead Scourge High Difficulty. Mission Introduction. A space fissure connecting the unknown death plane is taking shape in your God's domain. The abundant life breath of God's domain has attracted the attention of a Death Lord. After the countdown is over, God's domain will be attacked by an army of undead. Please repel the army of undead. Attack. Quest Reward. 1 ancient quality 5-star card of a specified type, 5 mythical quality 5-star cards of a specified type, and an extra card slot. Chip 1. The invasion of the Undead Legion includes ghosts and other undead that are immune to physical damage. It cannot be ruled out that there will be advanced undead troops such as Black Knights and Licks. The number of invasions is uncertain, and the extraordinary rank powerhouses that invade are uncertain. Chip 2. You can concede defeat at any time to stop the invasion, but conceding defeat means you will be eliminated. Chip 3. Don't try to counterattack, it's courting death, you're already pretty good at surviving the Scourge invasion. The last task prompt made Lin Xiao unable to complain. But because of this prompt, he directly ruled out the last most difficult task. Ba. The Death Lord is at least equivalent to a demigod, and the highest is comparable to the terrifying existence of a true god, and he has a strength bonus in his own territory, and he is still fighting back with his strength. Isn't that funny? Even if the Death Lord selected by the mission cannot be a true god level, even if it is only the lowest demigod level, he is not able to counterattack. Not only the counterattack, but even the defense, he didn't have much confidence. There are not many undead, but a large number. It is not qualified to be called a legion without hundreds of thousands of undead. Even if most of them are cannon fodder like skeleton zombies, there are too many. Even if they can defend, God's domain will be scrapped. He is not that stupid. As such, there is only one option, and that is medium difficulty. There is no need to consider low difficulty. Even if this can be completed, the evaluation of the tutor will not be high, and the reward is not high. The medium difficulty is just right. Not only the reward is good, but if he counterattacks, he may get an extra card slot, which is the most valuable to him. But when he was about to choose, he suddenly received a message from Shen Yuexin. How difficult is your task? Lin Xiao didn't say anything, just took screenshots of his 3 tasks and quickly received her response. Your difficulty is lower than mine. My lowest difficulty is equivalent to your medium difficulty, and my highest difficulty is the same as yours. He thought about it and replied. Then be careful, I chose medium difficulty, high difficulty is too powerful. Be careful with you, I'm stronger than you think. For some reason, the image of her waving a small fist appeared in his mind. He smiled slightly, turned off the contact, his eyes swept across the 3 tasks, and he chose the intermediate difficulty, and the picture on the light curtain immediately changed. You have determined the intermediate difficulty. You still have 2 hours to prepare. The invasion will start in 2 hours. Below the prompt is a beating countdown. Children, war has come. After receiving the divine metaphor released by Lin Xiao, Slarda quickly gathered all his family members, a total of 14,400 adult Murlocs and 921 adult Naga, all gathered near the ancient arena. Led by Slarda to the northwest corner of God's domain, where the space crack appeared. Although the divine simile indicated that the invading enemy was very powerful, many family members were confident. They have accumulated a lot of combat experience and strong strength in the ancient arena for more than half a year, making every family full of confidence and looking forward to the upcoming battle. 2 hours passed in a flash, and the spatial fluctuation became more and more intense as time approached, and it was so strong that even the family members scattered on the grassland could see it with their own eyes. The circles of ripples continue to expand outward like boiling water, and a huge vortex is slowly taking shape. As it begins to connect with the unknown plane, the spatial vortex slowly turns bloody. Suddenly, the blood-colored vortex shook violently, a huge human face protruded above the vortex, and 2 bloody lights spewed out from the pupils, and the huge face took a deep breath and spit out the words. What a wonderful air! Is this the sanctuary bestowed by the great blood god to Alamant? The voice was low and powerful, containing a trace of evil spirit. Bloody eyes swept everywhere, full of greed. Unknown creature, submit to the blood count Alamant, or Alamant's blood legion will tear you apart. The answer to him was a cannonball-like stone that slammed into the face, and smashed into powder a few meters away from the face, but it also angered the blood count named Alamant, and the angry roar resounded through the realm of God. Humble bugs, you are seeking your own death, welcome the wrath of Alamant. The huge face slowly disappeared, turning into a vortex again, and calm was restored near the portal. A minute passed without any movement. The Naga fish didn't make any movement either, standing quietly and waiting. 2 minutes passed, but there was still no movement. The grass was silent. When it was about 3 minutes, the blood-colored vortex suddenly shook violently, and a strong blood light suddenly exploded covering a radius of hundreds of meters. Slarda raised the anchor and shouted, "Children, prepare to fight." The blood light dissipated, revealing teams of human hoplites and archers lined up neatly, probably as many as 4,000 or 5,000 people. This is the first time that Lin Xiao has faced a human enemy. Well, strictly speaking, it is a blood slave and a blood servant. These human beings have been transformed into blood slaves by the vampire count. They have stronger physiques than humans, but they hate sunlight and like to eat blood. Chapter 126 Blood Count, Blood Knight. As soon as this blood servant phalanx appeared, the front row of hoplites with full body plate armor marched forward with their large shields, and the rear row spread out to form a formation, advancing layer by layer. At the same time, the blood-colored vortex is continuing to spew blood light, and it is estimated that the second wave of Blood Legion will be sent over. However, Lin Shao breathed a sigh of relief after seeing the Blood Legion square. Although these Blood Legions were well-equipped, their individual strength was only second and a small amount of third level, far less than the average third level plus all-around warriors. The profession is not inferior to any fourth level Murloc, not to mention the per capita fifth level peak Naga warriors. Obviously, the task that the mentor gave him is based on the previous evaluation. If Lin Shao did not evolve the Big Naga, and did not load the ancient arena, even the lowest difficulty task would be a huge threat to him. Fortunately, Lin Shao breathed a sigh of relief, sitting on the throne of the Kingdom of God and overlooking the realm of the gods. As the enemy vanguard infantry advanced in rows and spread to form a 1-kilometer-long semicircle to protect the portal, Slarda was also ordering the Murlocs to start an attack. He divided the Murlocs into a brigade of 1,000, named after the creatures in the sea, such as the Flying Fish Brigade, the Turtle Brigade, the Sea Shrimp Brigade, etc., and dispatched troops to encircle them frontally. Under the command of a tall knight whose entire body, including the mounts under his seat, was wrapped in pitch-black plate armor, the long-range troops of the Blood Legion defending the portal flew out waves of arrows, drawing an arc in the air and projecting down towards the charging Murloc. At this moment, a small part of the huge Murloc team behind suddenly stretched out their hands in unison, and powerful mana fluctuations emerged. The air above the Murlocs covered by the arrow rain distorted, and a layer of blue light emerged out of thin air, sending all the arrows out. Ya stopped all. Seawater Barrier. Murloc Warlock summons a layer of tough seawater barrier to resist damage. The sea barrier has health, and when the health value is exhausted, the sea barrier disappears. More than 1,500 third-level Murloc Warlocks, only 100 cast spells at the same time. The sea barrier that unfolds is enough to withstand more than 10 waves of arrow rain. Through the ancient arena, most of the second-level Murloc warriors will advance to the third-level Murloc leader when they break through to the third-level Murloc, but about 1/10 of them can advance to the third-level Murloc Collar Warlock. Under the guidance of Slarda, a total of more than 1,500 Murloc Warlocks were born, which came in handy at this time. It is a pity that the fighting power of this Murloc Warlock is far less than that of the Kobold Dragon Warlock, so it can be said that it is not at the same level. Murloc Collar Warlock can be used as a 4th-level soldier at most. The Awakening spell is powerful enough, or in some special cases, it may be able to block the 5th-level soldier, but compared with the Kobold Dragon Warlock who has entered the extraordinary level with explosive force as the brother. The only advantage is that it can be born on a large scale through the ancient arena, and the number of thousands is still very powerful. Speaking of this, Lin Shao couldn't help but wonder if Wu Zonglin also had an ancient arena like himself. However, he immediately rejected it. His ancient arena was obtained through the fusion of fortune energy, and Wu Zonglin did not have a magic cube, so he couldn't have it. Or, he has a miracle similar to the ancient arena. But this was just an imagination after all, and he didn't have time to study it in detail. He quickly retracted his gaze and saw many Murlocs rushing through between the two armies under the protection of the sea barrier to engage with the forward hoplites of the Blood Legion. This time, they didn't keep their hands. At the moment of contact between the two sides, the fish people were a wave of salted fish stabs that directly knocked all the heavy infantry in the first row of the Blood Legion to the ground, and they made up the knife and killed them on the spot. This is the biggest advantage of his family. The first mover can always easily kill a wave in seconds. As long as the enemy does not occupy several times the number advantage, it is not an advantage. The few who surround the majority are not a joke here, it is true. As soon as he came into contact with more than 2,000 forward heavy infantrymen, all of them were killed. The Blood Army forward general was obviously surprised, but he was a courageous guy who could become a forward. He decisively led the Chinese army to kill them and block the Murlocs who were pounced on the archers. Down. Bang, bang, bang. One after another, the thunder shocks exploded, and the blood slaves who were fully armed were stunned and smashed into the air. This forward general is a soldier of the 6th Order extraordinary level. Seeing this tragic situation, he roared, raised the 3-meter-long blood-colored giant sword in his hand and pointed forward sharply, dragging a long blood shadow across the whole person. A Murloc could not escape and was divided into two, and the corpse was shriveled, and all the blood was absorbed. The forward general killed 2 murlocs in an instant, and the dark figure with a faint glow of blood dashed from left to right in the crowd of fish like a streamer. The speed was astonishingly fast, and the race and occupation were comparable to a 4th-level fish. People can't even flash. In less than 5 seconds, dozens of murlocs were killed in seconds, and all of them died in 2 and blood was absorbed. The dark figure was already covered with a thick layer of blood, and when he stopped, he could see that his whole body was covered with a thick layer of blood. What a mighty warrior! Lin Shao sighed in admiration, and Slarda, who was sitting in the middle army, moved in his heart, stretched out 2 fingers of his right hand and waved, and 2 large Naga whale hunting knights with a height of 5 meters quickly swam out and rushed to the battlefield. The big Naga was promoted to the 6th rank, and its body was already very tall. At first glance, it was not a mortal thing. 2 big Naga whale hunting knights rushed out. The huge movement immediately attracted the attention of the forward general, and the knight who wanted to rush again took it back. The raised blood blade swept across, and a blood-red half-moon sword energy swept and killed more than a dozen murlocs who were close to each other, and suddenly turned to look behind. After the huge blood-colored vortex was charged again, it exploded again with endless blood light, and the 2nd Blood Legion troop was sent over. Lin Shao saw a knight in black plate armor also standing in the center of the troop. 2 extraordinary blood knights. Slarda stretched out 4 fingers again, and the 4 whale hunter knights set off. Completely inheriting Lin Shao's style, Slarda also likes to take advantage of his 6th-order transcendence in terms of numbers. The 1st Blood Knight is 2 to 1, and the 2nd Blood Knight directly dispatched 4, and at the same time again assemble 5,000 murlocs, along with the previous wave of 3,000 murlocs, to prepare to kill these 2 Blood Legion troops in one wave. Limited by the upper limit of the space crack, the transmission interval between the 2 waves of Blood Legion is about 5 minutes, which is enough to defeat if it has an absolute advantage. However, the enemy probably had the same idea. As soon as the 2nd wave of Blood Legions appeared, they attacked the 1st wave of murlocs under the command of the Blood Knights, and it was estimated that they wanted to defeat this wave of murlocs first. In this case, Slarda, who was in the middle army, immediately roared loudly, and his voice spread throughout the battlefield. Defensive stance. The 1st wave of nearly 3,000 murlocs immediately adjusted their pace, and at the same time quickly approached other companions and assumed a defensive posture. This is a brand new stance obtained by the Almighty Warrior's career promotion to the 3rd level. In this state, the ability to block and parry can be greatly improved, and the probability of blocking arrows can be increased. When attacked, because of preparation, it is often possible to avoid fatal attack to increase the survival rate of the battlefield. A group of troops with an average strength of level 4 deploy a defensive stance against a group of troops with strength between the 2nd and 3rd levels, plus a layer of seawater barrier. He kept his mouth shut, not knowing what to say. More than 4,000 blood slave heavy infantry and more than 3,000 archers attacked fiercely, and even the seawater barrier was not opened. At the same time, the 2nd wave of 5,000 murlocs was quickly approaching the battlefield. 6 whale hunter knights exuding a strong atmosphere were mixed in. The 2 blood knights looked at each other and had to order to give up attacking the turtle and retreat to the defense. Order to shrink the formation and ask for help from the opposite side of the teleportation vortex. Dear Alamand, the enemy of this plane is stronger than we thought, and we need more support. In a huge castle standing on the top of the mountain, blood is rippling in the dark castle hall. A middle-aged beautiful man wearing a gorgeous robe, with a handsome but extremely pale face is sitting on the throne in the center of the hall. There are more than a dozen figures with equally powerful breaths. There was a light curtain in front of the Blood Count Alamand, which displayed the picture near the teleportation vortex, and the voice of the Blood Knight calling for help echoed in the hall. After a long time, Earl of Blood Alamand stretched out his sharp fingernails and tapped the light curtain. His movements were extremely elegant. He looked up at his powerful subordinates and said with a smile, "It seems that the enemy behind the door is quite powerful, and even our brave Klaus Knights can't resist. My dear subordinates, what do you say?" On the left, a handsome, pale-faced young man also wearing a gorgeous robe stood up and said, "I haven't smelled such sweet air and delicious blood for a long time, let me go." Alamand glanced at him, nodded, and said, "Then trouble Master Anselm to go with your mage group, and I will let a knight group escort you there." I still need a Blood Knight, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, the Blood Knight Garcia will go with you. He and his knights will protect you and your mages. The young man named Anselm stroked his chest and bowed to a Blood Knight opposite him. The Blood Knight on the opposite side stood up and pressed his chest armor in return. Alamend smiled slightly. It's not too late. Clay's Knight is still waiting for your support. I'm here waiting for the good news from the two of you. Anselm nodded, but there was no movement. The whole person turned into a blood shadow and rose into the sky, and disappeared directly through the castle, while the other Garcia Blood Knight kept a strict pace and took a few meters quickly. Disappear. With Master Anselm and his mage team, the humble reptiles of the alien plane will soon be sent to the underworld. Alamend elegantly picked up the fine wine glass and said with a smile, "Everyone, let's have a toast and wish Master Anselm and Knight Garcia a triumphant return soon." Dry. Chapter 127 Instructor's intervention increases the difficulty. The land was barren, with only weeds and tiny trees swaying in the wind. 2 fully armed blood slave legions were ready to go. 2 blood knights riding the same thick armor stood in the legion, quietly looking at the one in front of them. A huge blood-colored vortex suspended in midair. This blood-colored vortex seems to be extremely unstable. The blood cloud on the edge of the vortex rotates slowly, like a big hand stirring the void to distort the surrounding air. From time to time, a blood-colored lightning with a thick arm explodes in the vortex. A group of blood mages wearing mages' robes are gathering around the bloody vortex, releasing a thick column of blood into the vortex and sinking into it. "Lord Andrew, how long will it take to stabilize the space crack?" A hoarse voice rang in the ears of a blood mage whose robes were more gorgeous than his companions. The blood mage shook his head. "Transferring a whole night order at a time is too heavy for the space crack, and it takes us more than 10 minutes to stabilize again. The situation on the opposite side of the crack is unfavorable. Clay's Knight has asked for help. I need you to stabilize the space crack as soon as possible. There is a way to do it, but if you do that, you won't be able to get any support from us for the next 2 blood hours. Can you teleport 2 knights at once?" "Yes, but when the cooling time will reach 6 blood, you will not be able to get any support from us during this period, nor will you be able to return to our world. Let's start. Then Master Anselm is here." The blood mage suddenly turned around and gave a salute. The blood knight turned his gaze to a certain direction and saw the blood light falling from the sky, turning into a huge knight group, and a large group of blood mage wearing mage robes floating in the air. "Perhaps you don't need to do that. Master Anselm's group of mages will send you there." The incomparably handsome Anselm floated to the portal, floating in the center of the huge blood-colored vortex, pinching his chin and staring at the huge vortex, waving his hand. Thousands of blood mages quickly floated over and gathered behind him. "How long was the last time the Knights of Class contacted you?" Blood Mage Andrew replied immediately. "More than 10 minutes. Then his situation is not good. I hope Lord Klaus can persist until our arrival." After speaking, he stretched out his hand and waved, motioning Andrew to back away. He reached out and took out a skull made of red-colored crystals from his arms, with blood flames surging between the 7 orifices of the skull. He held the skull and threw it forward. Not far in front of him, he closed his eyes and started muttering something. The mage group stretched out their hands in unison, and an invisible wave surged out. At a level that ordinary people couldn't see, the spiritual power of all the mage group gathered on Master Anselm, forming an invisible twisted space with him as the center. Under everyone's attention, Master Anselm slowly stretched out a finger and pointed at the blood crystal skull. The skull trembled violently in the air, and opened his mouth to spray a column of crystal-clear blood on the blood-colored vortex, which was unstable. The whirlpool quickly began to stabilize, and even the whirlpool began to expand and grow, and the rich blood color in the center of the whirlpool began to fade. Seeing this, Master Anselm smiled and said to a blood knight who had been waiting here for a long time, "Okay, Your Excellency Carol, please allow." Before he finished speaking, his face changed abruptly. "Not good, dangerous." In the future, a golden light suddenly lit up in the twisting vortex, and in an instant, a thick golden spear that suffocated them shot out from it, hitting Master Anselm in midair with a single blow, and the sound of boom hung in the air. The blood crystal skull exploded violently, and Master Anselm roared with a roar. The gorgeous robe, the ring on his hand, the chest pendant, and even the earlobe exploded at the same time, illuminating a dozen magical rays of light, layer upon layer of visible or invisible colors. Defensive spells took shape at this moment. However, it was useless. The divine power spear was only shaved by less than 1/5. The remaining power penetrated all defenses, pierced through the gorgeous robe and the skinny body with one blow, and blew Anselm into pieces with a bang. The golden light in the sky turned into golden flames and spread along the invisible connection between Master Anselm and the mage core. Andrew was shocked and shouted in a sharp voice with a panicky tone. "Disconnect now." But it was already too late. The golden flames had spread in an instant, and more than half of the mages of the mage group were affected and turned into golden fireballs. Master Anselm. Outside the space vortex, all the Blood Knights were very shocked, and a trace of uncontrollable fear came to their hearts. As a sixth-order extraordinary existence, how could they not recognize what that golden spear was? It was precisely because they recognized it that they were afraid. The Blood Knights looked at each other in dismay. After a while, the Garcia Blood Knight who came with Anselm said in a muffled voice, "Be vigilant on the spot. I will report the news of Master Anselm's death to His Excellency Alamand." The other Blood Knights remained silent, acquiescence, and no one mentioned any further support. In fact, it is useless for them to support, because at this time, the two knights on the other side of the plane have been wiped out, and even the two sixth-order Blood Knights have been killed. 6 Whale Knights with the same sixth-order extraordinary shot at the same time, and they couldn't resist the 3-on-1 situation. Originally, Lin Xiao wanted to continue waiting behind the portal to wait for the enemy to come over. When a knight group came in, he would destroy one. First destroy their living power and then take control. No way, so I spent 1 million faith points to condense a magic spear, which instantly killed Master Anselm who was opening the door, and half of the Blood Mage Corps. Although it was only 1 million faith points, Lin Xiao's divinity point was several times higher than before. Now the power of the Divine Power Spear condensed with this 1 million faith points is comparable to the power of the Divine Power Spear condensed with 4 or 5 million faith points. This is the power that can cause damage to demigods. How can a mere 6th-order mage be able to resist? It's a pity that the magic spear passes through the vortex and enters another plane. It cannot be controlled and cannot lock on the target. Killing Anselm is a sneak attack and the opponent cannot move during the casting phase. Otherwise, Lin Xiao would definitely be willing to spend millions of faith points. Kill the knight. So now the problem is coming. This task will definitely not be a problem to resist the enemy's invasion, and the loss will not be big. The key is what to do next. Should I counterattack the Blood Castle? Lin Xiao was sitting on the central throne of the Kingdom of God, with his hand on his forehead and pondering. To resist the invasion, 5 5-star cards of golden mythological quality are considered to be in hand, which can be said to be stable. If you can counterattack and destroy the Blood Castle, kill the Blood Count Alamand, you can get an extra card slot. He hesitated. It's not that hesitation can't beat him, even if his real body doesn't dare to rush to an unknown alien plane, but with his current family strength, it's not difficult to break through the Blood Castle. What he considers is the loss, and before he has no way of knowing the specific strength of the Blood Castle, it is too risky to rashly attack. After all, this is a real sword, and the family will die as soon as they die. In this case, Lin Xiao's personal tendency is to give up the extra quest and get 5 golden mythical quality cards. Although the extra card slot is rare, for him, it is not enough for him to risk the huge loss of his family for an extra card slot. According to his current strength, he will definitely perform well in the later stage when the teams challenge each other, and there is a high probability that there will be additional card slot rewards at that stage, so it will not take big risks now. Thinking of this, Lin Xiao made a decision in his heart. Looking up at the countdown, only half an hour has passed, and there is still an hour and a half left. If you keep the 5 mythological quality cards, you will have it. Lin Xiao feels that. So easy. It was really easy, and it didn't feel difficult at all. He pinched his chin and leaned on the throne of God. I don't know if it was a coincidence or not. At this time, the big Naga's Larda was also leaning on the edge of a small soil slope, and looked a little bored at the vortex that the blood-colored lightning exploded from time to time. The movements of one god and one naga were surprisingly consistent. But outside the realm of the gods, there is a gaze that is scanning back and forth in his realm for several times, with a hint of surprise in his eyes, but more of a surprise. This kid, I haven't seen him for a few days and there has been such a big change. It seems that this task is too easy for you. Spiritual mind swept across the huge ancient arena, then landed on Slarda leaning on the slope, and finally landed on the 17 whale-hunting knights exuding a powerful breath. In the bloody battle just now, there was Adana. Jia warrior broke through the limit and was promoted to level 6. Xie Yufei folded her arms around her chest, pondering for a while, and stretched out a white as jade finger. Lin Shao abruptly stood up from the throne of God, and just moments ago, he sensed a powerful external force flashing away in the realm of the gods. After thinking for a few seconds, he cast his gaze into the divine realm, and soon found the space crack that was expanding rapidly. Leave. He immediately understood that it was the teacher's interference, expanding the space crack. Obviously, it was too easy to complete the task by myself, which made the instructor feel that the purpose of the test could not be achieved, and temporarily increased the difficulty. If it was said that only one night order of 4,000 or 5,000 people could be teleported at a time, now 10,000 night order can be teleported at a time, and the transmission interval is only 3 minutes. Nanas, these 5 gods' domain cards are not very easy to get. Lin Shao is helpless about this. If the instructor wants to add drama, what else can he do? The portal is in his own domain, and he can't avoid it if he wants to. God Neslarda jumped up when the portal was just changed, and loudly ordered the family members to prepare for the enemy. Although it is separated by the portal, as the portal is stable, the enemy on the opposite side can be clearly sensed, and at the same time a very powerful breath is rapidly approaching the portal. A gleam of blood in the gloomy sky quickly approached, and it turned into the figure of the Blood Earl Alamand. On the ground behind him, a huge army was rapidly approaching. As soon as they landed, the Blood Knight stationed here quickly stepped forward and said in a deep voice, "The Blood Mage, Your Excellency Anselm, was killed by the unknown powerhouse on the opposite side with the Spear of Divine Power. I guess there is a noble existence on the opposite side." Chapter 128 The Cunning Blood Count. Alamand looked at the teleportation vortex with a faint blood light in his pupils, and answered his subordinate after a long while. "I have checked the memory of Your Excellency Garcia. It is not a noble, but a being who is walking on this road." "Your Excellency." Blood Knight Garcia looked at Earl of Blood with surprised eyes, and did not continue to ask. He knew that this Excellency knew what he wanted to ask. Blood Count Alamand nodded and said, "If that is a noble person, I will immediately close the space crack and leave, but unfortunately it is not, but an existence who has just walked on this road, then." "Your Excellency wants to kill a god." "No, he is not qualified to be called a god. Only the great ancestor of the blood god can be a true god, and the rest are false gods, including the one from the Empire of Humanity." When talking about the existence of these 2 statues, his eyes revealed deep envy and expectation. He stretched out his slender and white palms and gently grasped them. A trace of blood escaped from his fingers, and he suddenly turned around and his gorgeous robes lifted up. A blood-colored halo exploded, shouting to the army that was already approaching behind. "Listen to my orders, break into the alien plane, and kill any visible life." The Blood Knight Garcia froze in his heart, lowered his head heavily, and raised his head sternly. The blood light from the thick helmet's eyes skyrocketed and spurted out nearly a foot away, and he violently pulled out a huge blood sword and shouted, "Ferocious warriors, follow me on the expedition." The fully armored warhorse under the seat raised its hooves high, and the knights under its command roared to the sky. Coming. Lin Shao resisted the idea of issuing a divine metaphor. He believed that Slarda would not let him down. As the blood gushed out from the teleportation vortex, the 2 knights appeared at the same time. At the moment of teleportation, the Blood Knight Garcia pointed his sword at Slarda, which was like a hill in the distance. The armed blood slaves shouted loudly and charged forward with 7,000 or 8,000 murlocs and more than 400 big nagas. At the same time, Lin Shao saw that on the opposite side of the teleportation vortex, the second knight group was already in place, and at the same time a very powerful and familiar evil aura was floating in front of the teleportation vortex. Blood Count. This breath was exactly the same as the huge face when the door was opened, and it was obviously the Blood Count who came in person. This is a 7th order high-level extraordinary, divided by the 20th level strength of the exotic, at least the 18th or 19th level powerhouse, only one step away from the 20th level legendary rank of the 1st level rules, which is quite terrifying. However, Lin Shao saw that he still had more than 80 million faith points left, and was not worried at all. If it is just a virtual invasion, as the Lord of the Gods' domain, it is impossible to make a move, but now it is a real invasion. As the Lord of the Gods' domain, you can make a move. You can't know that the family can't defeat the family and watch the family die, and the Gods' domain is destroyed. Of course, even if it is a test, in general, the Lord of God's domain can only take action when the family is obviously lost and has a certain loss. If he kills the enemy at the beginning, it will definitely greatly reduce the mission evaluation. So how to make a move, whether to evaluate or to keep your family safe, you need to measure yourself. The Blood Count did not directly enter the portal, but continued to order the second batch of subordinates to prepare for teleportation. He personally stabilized the teleportation vortex, and reduced the teleportation interval to less than 2 minutes before starting the second batch of teleportation. At this time, the 2 troops in God's domain had just fought, and the Murloc striker had just stabbed the striker of the Blood Knights with a wave of salted fish, and the second wave of enemies was overturned with a thunderous strike, a powerful shock wave. The arrows shot from the back are all thrown into the air. Compared with the single 0.5-fold outbreak of the salted fish stab, Thunder Strike is a group damage skill, and its main function is to control the field. Unless the enemy is too weak, it is a low-level race of cannon fodder below level 1 and not very well equipped, otherwise it is difficult to directly kick to death. The 8,000 Murlocs fought head-on with the remaining 7 or 8,000 fully armed human blood slave warriors, and they gained the upper hand in almost 10 seconds. Slarda let the middle army press down, and the Murloc warlocks approached the battlefield and released various spells to support the friendly forces, tactically suppress the enemy. In particular, more than 1,000 Murloc warlocks who can summon water elements are gathering to summon water elements under the command of a warlock leader. Each Murloc warlock will randomly obtain 3 spells from the spell library when they advance. Although they are random, there are several spells that are popular spells and can be obtained with a high probability, such as summoning water elements, summoning tides, and so on. Just like the Kobold Dragon Warlock, although the awakening spells are random, there is a spell that all Kobold Dragon Warlocks can awaken, that is, the Dragon Breath Fireball, whose power is comparable to a 500-kilogram warhead ballistic missile. The water element summoned by the Murloc Warlock is a medium-sized water element, equivalent to a 4th level unit, about 4 meters high, and possesses water-based spells such as water archery, tide calling, water making, and water repelling, and its combat power is quite impressive. It's a pretty powerful summon. The most important thing is that the water element comes from a huge water element plane, and the most powerful element of the body is pure water. It can be drunk directly. So if the caster is stuck in a waterless place like a desert, the water element can be summoned to quench their thirst. If there is no fresh water in the god's domain, you can summon the water element from the water elemental plane to the god's domain on a large scale, and then disband it, and the water will remain in the god's domain. The operation is a bit tricky, but it is very practical. Lin Shao plans to build a large lake on the land of God's domain when he has time in the future, and open a few more water nets, and then he will use this method. Thousands of water elements were summoned to protect the warlocks and did not move. The warlocks did not let the water elements go to the battlefield immediately, but guarded them around to protect them from continuing to summon the water elements. As a 3rd level warlock, you can generally control about 4 or 5 water elements at the same time, adding up to 4 or 5,000 water elements, which is not a weak force. When the warlocks summoned the 3rd water element, the teleportation vortex spewed energy again, and a new wave of enemy teleportation was coming. At this time, the first wave of 2 knights had less than 5,000 left, and they were pressed and beaten by the 8,000 Murlocs and a few hundred Naga. At this time, the defense line had been shrunk to the vicinity of the portal to defend. One of the 2 newly teleported knights was led by a blood knight, and the other was led by a blood wizard. He was shrouded in blood and rose into the air, shouting loudly. His Excellency Alamend has an order to guard the exit. Later, His Excellency the Earl will lead the Knights of the Guardians to expedition in person. Oh, the enemy's morale immediately rose under these words, and Lin Xiao was even more happy when he heard it. He pinched his chin and thought about it, and suddenly gave Slarda a divine message, telling him to slow down and not kill the enemy too quickly, so as not to frighten the Earl. It's not good if adults don't dare to come in. Slarda paused as the Chinese army slowly approached the teleportation vortex, and ordered the Chinese army to slow down the advance, and at the same time, the offensive also slowed down. The so-called slowing down of the offensive means taking a defensive stance, not seeking to kill the enemy, but only to defend and save lives, plus the protection of the seawater barrier blessed by the Murloc Warlock. Although it is a fierce battlefield, the damage is not large. Of course, there are still some losses, but if you can lure the Blood Count to come in person, this loss is still worth it. The Blood Earl stayed outside the whirlpool. He couldn't take the opponent. The Divine Power Spear could kill his super-level subordinates in a cross-border situation, but he absolutely couldn't kill a legend who was only one step away from the legend. Count Vampire, as long as he allows the other party to enter the realm of the gods, he is 100% sure that he will be pinched to death. With tens of millions of beliefs in hand, even if he is a demigod in a short time, he is not false, not to mention even a legend. As long as the Earl of Blood is killed, and then the Knights of the Blood Legion that entered the Divine Realm are destroyed, the Castle of Blood will only be an empty shell, and it is not easy to get rid of it. Outside the whirlpool, the Blood Count Alamend looked gloomily to the other side of the plain through the whirlpool. Even though he saw the second batch of subordinates entering the field to stabilize the situation and block the enemy's attack, his face became more and more ugly. There were several Blood Knights standing behind him, and nearly half of the Blood Knights under his Blood Army were here. At this time, one of his subordinates approached and asked in a low voice, "Your Excellency Count, the portal has stabilized." He didn't respond, and his subordinates didn't take action. After a few seconds, he suddenly snorted and said, "Let Garcia prepare to retreat." The men were puzzled for a while, and could not help but ask, "Your Excellency Count, if you evacuate now, at least half of the blood slaves will not be able to evacuate, right?" Alamend turned sharply, blood flames spewed from his pupils, and shouted sharply, "Follow my orders." Yes. The subordinates nodded immediately, and the two blood mages immediately stepped forward to control the portal and passed the information. The four Blood Knights who were fighting back and forth with the fish people reacted differently when they heard the order. The two Blood Knights who entered the field later were a little puzzled, but Garcia and another Blood Knight who entered the first group were not. He breathed a sigh of relief, and immediately ordered some of the troops to be in the rear, and the rest quickly evacuated. In this dangerous battlefield, he didn't want to stay for a moment. Slarda ordered the release of water, but the Blood Knight who entered the field later did not know. How could he not know? The last wave almost collapsed his knights, and the next wave suddenly released water. How could he not be clear about the huge gap between them? This fishing tactic Garcia used to see clearly before, and the enemy obviously had enough strength to defeat him. But he didn't do his best, obviously trying to lure His Excellency the Count in. Fortunately, His Excellency the Wise and Miraculous Earl saw through the enemy's tricks and was not fooled, which made him extremely fortunate. The enemy began to retreat on a large scale. Lin Xiao, of course, saw it in his eyes. He knew immediately that his plan had been seen through. He sighed with some pity, and stretched out his hand. "Don't leave this wave of blood legions that have entered God's domain. Don't think about it." The Blood Count behind the vortex was furious when he saw this. Blood flames soared all over his body, and he stretched out a hand and pressed it into the vortex. In an instant, endless blood gushed out of the blood-colored vortex, and quickly condensed into a huge bloody hand and pressed against the golden meteorite that fell from the sky. Boom! An earth-shattering bang exploded, and terrifying energy crushed the void, forming a layer of invisible space distortion that quickly spread. The bloody big hand was shattered, the meteor was shattered, and it disappeared into the sky with golden light. Lin Xiao was stunned for a while. A look of anger appeared on his face. A full 5 million faith points burned, and a transparent golden flame burned all over his body. He slowly stretched out his golden palm and grasped downwards. Down, the void swayed a circle of ripples like water, immersing his entire hand into it and disappearing. At the same time, Garcia, who had withdrawn to the edge of the teleportation vortex, suddenly felt his scalp numb, and a suffocating pressure descended from the sky. In the next second, the fast-moving blood shadow slowly appeared, revealing Garcias Blood Knight, whose face was full of fear. It wasn't that he slowed down, but a force he could not imagine descended here, and the void near the teleportation vortex was suppressed by this terrifying force like a sticky glue. Then, he saw a big golden hand descend from the sky and swept it lightly, and he lost all consciousness. In the eyes of Blood Count Alamand, he saw a large golden hand swept across, and thousands of subordinates gathered near the portal were wiped away like flying ash, and a cold hum passed through the portal and hummed directly in his soul. Rise. Intruder, I remember your breath. Alamand snorted and took a few steps back. The bloody flames all over his body plummeted, and his face became even paler. Demigod. Silently watching the gradually collapsing portal, he stayed silent for a while. In God's domain, Lin Xiao was in a good mood. He just scared the other party, not that he was really angry, and with his current strength, he couldn't mark a vampire powerhouse that was close to a legend. But the other party didn't know. With the power of faith and home field advantage, the power he showed was not much different from that of the indigenous demigods. It is estimated that the Blood Earl will be afraid for a long time. Chapter 129 Counting and Statistics. The portal collapsed, but more than 11,000 Blood Legion blood slaves were forced to stay in God's domain, including a 6th Order Extraordinary Blood Knight. There were originally more than 13,000, but the big move just wiped out more than 2,000. The remaining Blood Legion was forced to surrender under the awe-inspiring power of Lin Xiao. The best way to use it is naturally to be a coolie to build a city, but the problem is that these are all blood slaves. They need to suck blood every day to work physically. There is no surplus food for 11,000 strong men to eat in God's domain. Not to mention the supply of blood, then the end will naturally be used as cannon fodder. In order to survive, these blood slaves will naturally try their best to kill them. Using these as opponents for their subordinates will definitely have a better tempering effect than the relatives fighting each other. After all, it is a life and death tear. Anyway, they are all enemies, and they will not feel heartache if they die. After the battlefield was cleaned up, and all the corpses were dug a big pit and buried, but the armor and weapons on the corpses could be stripped off, which was a good thing. This Blood Count looks very rich, and all his men are equipped with steel armor and weapons. Although it is the worst steel, it is also steel. Armor is not enough. There is a gap between Murlocs and humans, but the weapons and the large steel shield on that side can all be used. In this battle, the Earl of Blood invested a total of 20,000 subordinates in 4 knights before and after, and 4 6th Order Extraordinary leaders, of which more than 15,000 were melee infantry, including heavy infantry and spearmen, axes and hammers, etc. Special arms, the rest are all long-range archers, bringing him a large amount of loot. Collect all the loot and store it in the warehouse, which includes the corpses of several extraordinary Blood Knights, the real Blood Clan that can break down the Blood Clan blood in the future. Lin Xiao rubbed his chin and had a new idea about the Murloc family. Perhaps, the next time you will get a lot of good fortune energy, it is time to remodulate the Murlocs and bring their appearance closer to the human direction. After all, in most of the Crystal Wall systems in the Chaotic Sea, humans are the mainstream races, and the enemies they will face in the future are estimated to be humans in most cases. Now have to throw the warehouse. Of course, just evolving the body shape toward the human direction does not mean evolving into a human being. A new species must have its own characteristics. If it is directly close to humans, it is not enough to directly use humans as relatives. Why bother to make such a new species? With the magic cube in hand, it is constantly modulated again and again. In the future, the Murlocs cannot be modulated and evolved into a new legendary species. In the realm of the gods, Lin Xiao was sitting on the throne of the Kingdom of God, and when he flipped his right hand, 4 groups of tadpole-like blood-colored lights swam back and forth in his palm, as if he wanted to escape. This is the soul of the 4 extraordinary beings, the leaders of the 4 knights who invaded the realm of the gods, 3 blood knights and 1 blood mage. The soul of life below the extraordinary level is not solid enough, and it will not take long for the soul to dissipate after death. Only the soul of the extraordinary powerhouse is strong enough. Even if it dies, it will not dissipate immediately, and it can exist for a period of time. After the war, Lin Shao collected the 4 souls. Up. This kind of extraordinary soul is a good thing. In the hands of the mage, it can create all kinds of powerful magic puppets, such as steel golems comparable to the extraordinary order, obsidian golems, etc., all need a pure soul as the control center. If you put it in the hands of a necromancer, you can create powerful undead such as black knights, horror knights, and licks. In the hands of a god domain player like Lin Shao, there are 2 choices. One chooses to use divine power to reshape the body and transform it into a supernatural guard, and the other chooses to create believers with infinite potential. The procedure is the same for the 2. First, erase the consciousness and spiritual imprint of the extraordinary soul, just like the golden flame rises in Lin Shao's hand now. The 4 tadpole-like souls in his palm are scorched by the divine fire, the wisps of blood are evaporated, and the blood in the soul is red. It quickly fades, which means that the consciousness and spiritual imprint in the soul are being forged. After the original consciousness and spiritual imprint were completely wiped out, only the purest and purest soul remained. At this time, Lin Shao paused and chose to create new believers. At this stage, there is no need to transform the guards. At this stage, he is not even a demigod, and there is no chance of involving the battle of gods. It doesn't matter whether there are guards in the realm of the gods. If an enemy really wants to attack the kingdom of God, just these few divine guards are useless. Through the reincarnation and rebirth function of the kingdom of God, the 4 extraordinary souls are arranged to be reincarnated, and only when the big Naga becomes pregnant, they will be reincarnated immediately. As the reincarnation of an extraordinary soul, the newly born big Naga has stronger innate potential than its peers, and it is easier to break through the limit and advance to the extraordinary. It is almost certain that as long as they do not fall in the middle, most of them can re-enter the extraordinary level. Entering the extraordinary level, you can serve yourself for 200 years, and the belief value provided is nothing. The main reason is that the combat power of the extraordinary level is quite valuable. Besides, if you die, you can still transform into a divine guard, which is better than directly transforming it into Shenwei as more cost-effective. Sending 4 extraordinary souls into the kingdom of God to queue up for reincarnation, this battle is basically over. In the end, it was estimated that there were about 600 relatives who died and about 2,000 injured. This battle damage was within his expectation and within the acceptable range, and would not hurt his muscles or bones. After the war, Slarda collected a large number of loot and the remnants of several blood knights and blood mages, and held a large-scale sacrificial event in the newly built city, Domestic. All the fanatical believers gathered together to pray, and the power of faith that emerged at this moment was as many as millions. Speaking of which, since the Murlocs and Naga have been re-evolved, these 2 races have provided themselves with more faith than before. For example, the power of belief that Murlocs can provide every day is only 1/5 of that of human beings. Now it is stronger than before after being strengthened. The power of belief that can be provided every day has reached 1/3 of that of human beings, which is a huge improvement. But the biggest improvement is the big Naga. After this transformation and promotion to a higher species, the daily belief value provided has reached the standard of human beings. A true believer Naga can provide the same belief value as a human after standard prayer every day, 1 standard belief value. A devout believer can provide 3 standard faith points. A fanatic provides 10 standard faith points. However, due to their particularity, the devout believers and fanatics provide uncertain faith values. The faith points provided by normal believers are from 3 to 10 points, and 3 points is the minimum standard, but if they are believers who have advanced their beliefs, or believers who have entered the supernatural level, the faith points provided are different. To give a simple example, they are also mad believers. Some mad believers can only provide 10 faith points a day, but some mad believers can provide 20 faith points a day, and maybe even 30 or 50 faith points. If it is a fanatical believer at the legendary level, the belief value that can be provided at one time may be thousands. The stronger the strength, the stronger the faith provided. Just like the legendary giant dragon, the belief value provided by any giant dragon is thousands of times that of ordinary humans. The true god of the dragon family has very few dragon believers, and the general belief is not very pious, but it can easily supply a true god to maintain the godhead. religious needs. Like the epic hero Slarda, who is now a devout believer, but he offers more than 1,000 times more faith than other devout believers. Therefore, the level of believers is only a basic standard, and some senior believers cannot be measured by this standard at all. Lin Shao now has more than 14,000 Murlocs and more than 900 Big Nagas, most of which are true believers, more than 7,000 devout believers, and more than 1,000 mad believers. This ratio is extremely exaggerated. Among them, there are more than 7,000 true believers among the Murlocs, who can provide him with more than 2,000 faith points every day. More than 7,000 devout followers can provide him with more than 7,000 faith points every day. Then there are mad believers in the early 1,000, who can provide him with more than 4,000 faith points every day. The above are the Murloc believers, and there are 900 Big Naga. All of them are a mixture of devout believers and mad believers, and they can provide him with more than 13,000 faith points every day. The large Naga are less than 1/10 the number of Murlocs, but provide the same faith as all Murlocs. Taken together, Lin Shao can earn 26,000 faith points every day. Of course, this is the most ideal state. In fact, it is impossible for these believers to perform a standard prayer every day, so the actual income only hovers between 50% and 70%. According to 70%, just relying on the relatives in the domain of the gods, in an ideal state, Lin Shao can harvest about 6.6 million points of faith in a year. 10 years is more than 66 million, which is equivalent to 66 points of divine power. It has not been 10 years since the remixing of Murlocs and Naga, and there have not been so many Murlocs and Naga before. But if you add the accumulation of previous years, Lin Shao has accumulated more than 85 million pure belief points now, and it will be enough to 100 million in about 3 or 4 days, and he can condense a little divinity. That is to say, in an ideal state, he can accumulate 100 million units of pure belief value in about half a month. Well, be more rigorous, excluding all kinds of accidents and extra expenses. Add a few more days, and it will be guaranteed to get about 100 million faith points in about 20 days. This is the purest belief value, which can be used to transform divine power, condense divine nature, ignite divine fire in the future, and so on. The pure faith value provided by one's own believers is also the foundation of every divine realm player. And this is only the current stage. With the passage of time, the Murlocs and the Big Naga will continue to multiply in the god's domain. As the population increases in the future, the faith value provided will increase. These belief points Lin Shao did not convert into divine power, but continued to exist. He planned to accumulate 200 million belief points first, and then condense the 2 points of divinity. Seeing that the divinity in the 2 dot brackets has not condensed every day, it seems strange to me. 6 points of divinity are above average in the entire summer camp. Don't look at the large number of outstanding students in the summer camp, but it is not to say that all of them have more than 5 points of divinity. After all, the divinity card itself is rare. Chapter 130 Rewards and Assumptions of the Third Auxiliary Familiar of God's Domain. Just like Lin Shao School only takes out a few in the final exam every year, which is not enough, only the best students have a chance to grab it. Like those descendants of true gods, although they are not lacking in divinity, having divinity does not mean that they can be merged casually. You must know that the divinity that is not condensed by yourself through the power of faith is not pure, and the divinity does not appear out of thin air. This is all condensed by other demigods or true gods through the power of faith provided by their own believers, which naturally contains a lot of the pagan spirits, as well as the consolidator's own spiritual imprint. It takes time to thoroughly refine the spiritual imprint in it before it can be integrated into oneself. Otherwise, it will be affected by the spiritual influence of different divinities, which will affect the character in the lightest and the potential in the worst. Lin Shao previously fused the divine nature of the snake man and the demigod, because he used the magic cube of good fortune to directly extract the pure divine nature, saving this step of effort. The descendants of other true gods gain additional divinity and can only be refined slowly, which is not coming soon. Anyone who wants to go further will not fuse a lot of divinity in one go to affect themselves. After coming out of God's domain, Lin Shao received a brief message from the instructor. After the challenge, you can move freely, but you must not leave the fortress. You must gather in the morning of the 3rd day. There were almost no restrictions, but he had nowhere to go. He just thought about it and sent a message to Lin Shu. He didn't reply for a while and didn't wait. He ordered a meal first, and applied to receive the reward by the way. He should be one of the first batch of students to complete the team's elimination mission. Once he completes the mission, he can naturally receive rewards. After waiting for the meal to arrive, he browsed the trading platform while eating. Speaking of which, Lin Xiao found that there were even ancient level cards on the trading platform, but rarely found divine cards and divine realm cards. Occasionally, they were instantly destroyed. This kind of card was completely in short supply. Although the 5 mythical quality 5-star cards rewarded by completing the quest are arbitrarily selected, they do not include the divine card and the divine domain card. As soon as he thought of this, he received a message, clicked on the light curtain and it popped up. The above displayed exactly the reward that he had just applied for, and asked him to choose the type of card for the reward. He put down his chopsticks and thought about it. The first one he chose was the Goblin species card. The mythical quality Goblin card is a total of 3,000 goblins, half male and half male. Choosing this species that is not even a cannon fodder is mainly to prepare for the third race of the divine realm. At present, both the Murlocs and the Big Naga are considered fighting races in God's domain, but a perfect God's domain cannot be all fighting races. There must be 1 or 2 auxiliary races, and goblins are the auxiliary races he chose. Strictly speaking, Lin Xiao at this time can already choose an intermediate race. There are 2 reasons for choosing a goblin. One reason is that the auxiliary race doesn't need to be strong, it just needs to be raised well. The goblins are very standard and can eat anything, even the rotten flesh of grass, roots, leaves, and it is quite easy to raise. The second reason is that he has a goblin's afterglow talent in his hand. This talent is quite conspicuous. He wants to try to use this talent to reproduce the glory of the ancient goblin empire. Well, this is unlikely. The brilliance of the ancient goblins is a man-made virtual god, which is not allowed by any true god, not even Lin Xiao. You can make man-made gods, can you expect them to keep believing in you? I'm afraid that the first thing they will do at that time is to overthrow the pseudo-god he thinks. Just like humans in the main world, after the gods can be created on a large scale to create gods, ordinary people in the main world will not believe in gods, so the players of the gods can only plunder the aliens from the aliens and then convert them into the gods to provide faith. Unless Lin Xiao can become the legendary supreme god, the king of gods, the god of gods, maybe he can control these virtual gods. But that was too much trouble, and if he really became a supreme god or a god, he wouldn't care about it. Therefore, the upper limit of its growth must be limited from the source. In other words, don't unravel the curse of the gods in the goblin bloodline. As long as the curse is not lifted, no matter how the goblins develop, it is impossible to reproduce the glory of the ancient times. After all, he just needs an auxiliary family who specializes in forging weapons and engineering machinery for the main battle race of God's domain. It's enough to know these things, and don't think about other things. The task of resisting the Blood Legion rewards 5 mythical quality 5-star cards. In addition to the Goblin card, he selected 2 very suitable talent cards and 2 speciality cards. 2 talent cards, High Kaiji, High Enlightenment. 2 specialty cards, Spiritual Genius, Ingenuity. Kaiji and Enlightenment are for the development of intelligence. Advanced Kaiji and Advanced Enlightenment are enhanced versions of mythological qualities. Today's goblins are all ignorant. Without Kaiji and Enlightenment, they are not useful at all. These are 2 necessary cards. Spiritual Power Geniuses are used to tap their spiritual power, which is a necessary talent for making magic equipment. Without spiritual power, it is impossible to make magic items. As for the dexterity of the mind, it literally means that the mind is more active, and the hands and feet are more dexterous. With these 2 talents and 2 specialties, a new species full of potential suddenly appeared in Lin Xiao's heart. When the thing was in hand, Lin Xiao didn't use it immediately, and put it away first. He remembered that the instructor said that any student who remained in the team's elimination phase could get 2 mythical quality 5-star cards. Although he said that 99% of the students could stay, the other students have not finished the test, and they still can't get those 2 cards. And he hasn't got an extra card slot, so have to wait. Speaking of which, the organizer of this summer camp is indeed very rich, and the mythical quality cards are really calculated. This time, the effort of this test has resulted in a total of 7 mythological quality 5-star cards, which are placed in Dongning 5 is unimaginable. Of course, that's not to say that this flood of cards isn't valuable, it's still quite valuable. It's just that the sponsors of the summer camp come from more than 100 institutions of higher learning in Huasha district, and with the support of the military, there are still resources for this. No matter how rare the resource is, it is not rare at a higher level. When I return to Dongning No. 5 middle school and the second year of high school starts, I guess I won't have the chance to encounter such a good thing again. At that time, I will return to an epic card, which is a good thing. I will only see the mythical card in the midterm or final exam stage. Different levels and different experiences. Lin Xiao suspected that when the summer camp was over, he would not be very interested in the rewards provided by the school. Therefore, taking advantage of this summer camp stage, I have to do my best to earn more resources, so as to narrow the gap in resources between myself and those top elites in the first year of high school. 2 days passed in a blink of an eye. After Lin Xiao finished washing up this morning, he received a message from his mentor. 3 days have come, go to the playground immediately to gather. He immediately went out, took out a flying skateboard to set the route, and came to the square where he first arrived. From a distance, he saw many people gathered there, chatting in groups in 2s and 3s. He noticed that everyone's faces were generally not very good. Aren't everyone doing well? At this moment, he saw at a glance a slender figure among the figures standing on the other side separated from the other students. It was the Shen family aunt. There were a few acquaintances not far away, but they stood on the other side and did not communicate with Shen Yuexin. He thought about it and didn't go over to say hello. At the second stage of the summer camp, everyone is basically taking care of their own. Even most of the original Yunmeng province have been eliminated, and the rest are divided into 4 teams. Besides, there are a few less familiar ones. I can't help by eliminating others in my team, and since everyone is not very familiar, naturally I don't need to contact them. As for the aunt of the Shen family, he contacted him once during the period, but she was still being tested and did not respond. The flying skateboard stopped beside Shen Yuexin. These people were all the ones that the instructor was very optimistic about. The second one was also a silver player, and Lin Xiao was the weakest among them. Of course that was before, and now he is definitely not the weakest. Lin Xiao self-assessed that his current strength can definitely reach the level of silver players, and he is still the strongest group, already qualified to compete for the 3 golden thrones. The reason why it is said to be qualified instead of being able to grab it is because the family equipment is not good. The weapon problem has been solved, but the armor is not yet there. The fish body shape is different from that of humans, and the armor that is handed in cannot be equipped. There are armors that are specially adapted to different races for sale on the market, but the problem is that his Murlocs and Naga are both self-created races, and their bodies are different from normal Murlocs and Naga. There is no suitable armor, only find someone to customize it yourself, or... No, there is no Murloc armor on the market at all, and there is no one who has tailor-made armor for cannon fodder like Murlocs, not at all. This is also the reason why he is going to get a 3rd auxiliary race, that is, he wants to be self-reliant. If there is no armor, it will be very disadvantageous to meet an evenly matched opponent. One has a thick armor for defense, and the other relies on the flesh to carry it hard, and the end is naturally miserable. Shen Yuexin greeted him generously. He waved with a smile, the others just nodded slightly, some returned the salute, and some didn't see it. Obviously these people neither saw nor recognized his strength. If it wasn't for the lack of opportunity, it is estimated that some people would want to challenge him. Lin Xiao ignored them, whether he recognized it or not, seeing Zhenzhong under his hands. If they really wanted to challenge, they would naturally give them a surprise. Ignoring them, he and Shen Yuexin stood together and spoke in a low voice. After chatting a few times, he found that although she was called auntie in terms of seniority, she was actually no different from other girls. Strictly speaking, she was indeed a girl. Can still talk. When he spoke, He could not help but quietly raise his eyes, aiming straight at her charming face. Yes, charming. He felt that it was difficult to describe her appearance and temperament with adjectives like beautiful and beautiful. Under the change of divinity, it is difficult for female gods to be ugly. It can be said that everyone can be a goddess, but she has such an outstanding appearance and figure. And temperament. Lin Xiao felt that it could only be described as charming. Chapter 131. The atmosphere is not right. Chatting with her is very comfortable and very pleasing to the eyes. So he couldn't help but stare at her, and he still looked at her above board. Of course, she only looked at her charming face, and didn't look anywhere else. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but the review was not allowed. But no matter how open and above board, the girls will be shy no matter how generous they are. When he looked at himself openly and above again, Shen Yuexin said a little shyly and angrily. Do you always talk to girls like this? No, because others are not as beautiful as you. Have you always been so slick when talking to girls? No, what I said is true. If you don't believe me, touch it. He held his chest on his hips. Shen Yuexin tilted his head with disgust. You're such a hooligan, I'll tell your grandma to go. Lin Xiao shrugged. Then go ahead and talk, my grandma will praise me for playing well. Shen Yuexin was speechless for a while. This guy is so slick, he really can't do anything about him. But Lin Xiao didn't wait for her to say anything else, and immediately said. Okay, I won't watch it, don't tell my grandma. It doesn't matter whether you tell her or not, the main thing is to give her a step down, and it's enough to flirt with her mouth and flirt. Although Lin Xiao was not a master of love in both his lifetimes, he still knew some theoretical skills. Shen Yuexin was the most charming girl he had ever seen, and she was very good in herself. Any normal man would have unreasonable thoughts, and it was normal to try to soak it in. Whether or not you can get it is another matter, at least there will be no regrets in life. Fortunately, she has a first-level relationship with her grandmother and has the opportunity to flirt. Although she is not an aunt, strictly speaking, there is almost no blood relationship. Grandma and Shen Yuexin's mother are of the same clan, distant relatives, but they are girls of the same age. They used to play well, commensurate with sisters. If you value this kind of long-distance relationship, you are relatives. If you don't value it, you can't see each other for decades. With his relationship with his grandmother, and of course his own talent for soft food, he has always been very popular with girls, so he can stand by her side and chat with her. If it is replaced by other boys, there is no one who can talk to her. The two chatted for a while, basically talking about things related to the summer camp. Lin Xiao was very smart and never talked about romance. A beauty like her never lacked a master girl to show off in front of her. She doesn't need to be ugly, just talk about what she is interested in. Chatting with the beauties, time seemed to pass quickly, and students kept coming. Not long after he heard a cold hum in his ears, Shen Yuexin said softly. The tutor is here, let's not talk for now. Okay. He raised his head and saw his mentor Xie Yufei's cold and stern gaze swept over, and quickly swept past them in a row to the back, and the remaining whispers disappeared instantly. She jumped down from the metal platform tens of meters high and stepped on the floor heavily. Her fitted military uniform showed her exquisite figure. She strode towards them and said in a deep voice, I'm very disappointed. More than 80% of the 400 people chose low difficulty, more than 30% were eliminated, and the remaining more than half suffered huge losses. Your performance is very disappointing to me. 30% is eliminated, and the remaining half is a huge loss. In other words, a total of 65% were eliminated, 30% were eliminated directly, and the remaining 70% suffered huge losses. The losses in the summer camp were huge, and they basically missed the next stage. 65% of the 400 people, that's 260. Lin Xiao sucked in a breath of cold air. How could he eliminate so many? It's no wonder that so many people didn't look very good when they first came, so it was. Sure enough, the military was ruthless enough to eliminate most of them in one go without blinking an eye. It's just ruthless to be scolded at the end. However, this kind of thing is completely normal in the army. The army wants absolute elites, the kind of elites with strong actual combat capabilities. These summer camp members can be regarded as genius elites, but this elite is compared to ordinary people and is placed in the army. As long as the actual combat ability is not good, it will not work at all. There is no need for trash in the army, only elites. There is only one way for trash to be eliminated. Xie Yufei's tone was ruthless and merciless. I know many of you are dissatisfied. Don't say I don't give you a chance. Those who have not yet been eliminated can stay. In the next team challenge, you can stay as long as you defeat any member of the enemy team. Eliminated. This sentence made most of the students with a bad face relieved. Although the chance is slim, it is an opportunity after all. At this time, Xie Yufei turned around and came to the 10 of them, glanced at the crowd behind, and said loudly. According to what I said before, any soldier who passes the level will get 2 5-star cards of mythical quality of the specified type. In addition, some soldiers perform well and complete additional challenges in addition to completing standard tasks. The military will not be stingy with rewards for outstanding soldiers. Now all the soldiers who have passed the level take a step forward. The crowd paused for a while, and many people looked at each other. Lin Xiao saw that the first 10 people in his row took a step forward in unison, and he also took a step forward, and then a white light fell from the sky, and the familiar light curtain bounced off. There is a 60-second countdown. He immediately chose 2 cards that he had thought of for a long time, one called Basic Exotic Mechanical Construction, and the other called Basic Exotic Alchemy, which were knowledge in the fields of engineering and alchemy respectively. Come out just to teach them. There is no need for advanced knowledge for the time being, only basic subjects are enough for the newly enlightened goblins to learn for a long time. Of course, at this stage he can't come up with better knowledge either. In any world, knowledge is the most precious, and pure skills are cheap, but if it is systematic knowledge, it is very rare. Even basic alchemy is a mythical card. If it is advanced knowledge, it is beyond. He couldn't get it right now if he wanted to get something that only the 5th level demigod card had. It was only halfway through the second stage of the summer camp, and Lin Xiao had obtained 7 5-star cards of mythical level, basically fulfilling all the requirements for the 3rd type of auxiliary family he envisioned. Modulation can be started. 1 minute passed quickly, and when everyone finished choosing the reward, Xie Yufei continued. The elimination in the team has ended. 120 soldiers have been eliminated. The rest will go to the main venue later to start the team PK. The PK rules will be sent to you later. See for yourself on the road. I hope that after the team PK is over, the remaining soldiers in the team can exceed 150. I look down on them directly. It means that nearly half of these 280 people will be eliminated now. But if you think about it carefully, it's really hanging. After all, half of the remaining players have suffered huge losses in the team elimination test just now. At that time, they will suffer quite a loss when peaking with other teams, and there is a high probability that they will not be able to beat the original team. Grade students. As Xie Yufei stretched out his hand and waved, not knowing whether it was the power of the true god or the power of a super war fortress, Lin Xiao only felt that the time and space in front of him had changed, and opened his eyes again to find that he had returned to the original venue, still sitting on the original stone throne. On the top of his head, there is a burning flame representing the Raging Flame team. He observed left and right subconsciously, and found that there were actually many vacancies around, which meant that the owners of these positions were eliminated in the previous team elimination. However, most of the people who were eliminated were at his level. There were about 20 or 30 people in the total number of 0 and 0. There were only 5 black iron thrones, and none of the bronze thrones were eliminated. Naturally, the most eliminated ones were those with no seats below. It used to be densely packed with more than 1,600 people, but now there are less than 1,000 left. What? He was surprised to find that the elimination rate of the Raging Flames team was not the highest, nor was it another military Wolf-Tooth team, but 2 academy teams, and the elimination rate exceeded 50%. Thinking about it carefully, he roughly guessed the reason. It is estimated that the academies directly eliminated all the unqualified ones, and as long as the military factions were not eliminated directly, they would usually have a second chance, so the elimination rate was not as good as that of the academies. This is not to say that the military faction is more humane, but for the military, as long as they are not eliminated directly, as long as they do not die, as long as they do not give up, they will have a second or even a third chance. This is the belief of the military. As long as you don't die on the battlefield, as long as the will to fight is still there, you will have the opportunity to create miracles. What Lin Xiao remembers most is the deeds about the super fighting heroes that he had accidentally seen in his unreborn past life. It was a real magical record, and it was a miracle that no novel dared to write like that. I remember watching the magical achievements of many heroes at that time, and when he watched those magical dramas, he suddenly felt that the brains of these screenwriters could actually be bigger. Hello, students. The sudden voice broke his divergent thinking and pulled back to reality. He looked up and saw the host who appeared on the rostrum at some point. I'm very glad that so many students can stay. Let's not gossip. The second phase of this summer camp Team PK starts now. I believe you all know the rules. I won't say more. Then you choose your opponents. We will. I lost it. Lin Xiao forgot to read the rules, and immediately lowered his head like everyone else. Great. Everyone forgot to watch it. In less than 10 seconds, he already had a certain understanding of the challenge rules. It's very simple. Previously, all players were divided into 4 levels: upper, middle, lower and top by their respective team instructors. Now each team student has to challenge at least 3 different opponents, and each opponent wins 2 out of 3 rounds. If the loser does not have a seat, directly eliminated. If there is a seat, the seat will be downgraded by 1 level, that is, if the black iron seat is defeated once, it will be downgraded to the stone seat. If the seats of the 2 sides are not equal, they will be reversed. If they lose again, they will become no seat. It will be said that it becomes possible to continue to stay in summer camp without a seat. If you win the first challenge, you will get a mythical quality card. The second time you win the challenge, you will get 2 mythical quality cards and a chance to challenge a level. You can challenge an opponent with a higher rank than yourself, such as an intermediate challenge to a superior. If you win 3 times, you will not only get 3 mythical quality cards, but also an extra card slot. If you win the leapfrog challenge, you will also be able to obtain origin power infusion to obtain an additional card slot, and an optional ancient crystal card, which means that you can theoretically obtain 2 additional card slots at this stage. Of course, this refers to the gold level and below, because there is no challenge from higher opponents at the gold level, but they have golden privileges. As long as they ensure that they do not downgrade after this stage, they can get a card slot and a random ancient crystal card. All of the above challenges, if the defeated opponent's seat is higher than himself, it will automatically replace the opponent's position. After reading the rules, Lin Xiao suddenly felt that the atmosphere was not right. Why do so many people look at themselves differently? Chapter 132 Active Challenge. He found that many people around him looked at him with strange eyes after reading the rules. On the left and right seats, turning back to the throne, and going down the stairs, at least more than half of the students looked at him with strange eyes. In particular, the 2 murderous eyes almost condensed into substance. He turned around abruptly and saw 2 players on the silver layer above staring at him. Hey, he's in trouble now. It's more than troublesome. Maybe 3 consecutive challenges will be eliminated directly. That's what he asked for. Who told him to be so pushy? Several golden players are not as pushy as him. Tisk tisk. 2 silver players are replaced by a stone player. He doesn't even think he can't stand it. I will definitely reject it. But then again, I can't blame him entirely. The one who chose him was a mentor, and he was considered an accidental injury. It doesn't matter if he was injured by mistake or not. Under the watchful eyes of the public, the tutor replaced him with 2 silver players and 1 stone player, and put those 2 players on the fire and roasted them on the fire. He lost his face. Can you let him go? Cannot. Definitely not. Why? I can't accept a stone seat for 2 silver players. So, these 2 silver players will definitely challenge him. He is now on the throne of stone. If he loses twice in a row, he will be eliminated directly. That's really tragic. This is the price of the ratio, even though it's passive. The voices of the discussions were loud and small, and they could not be heard from far away, but some were vaguely heard nearby, and the more they listened, the more speechless they became. But he couldn't help it, even he couldn't refute it. After all, he would be unconvinced. It really hurts Nico. Bulging his cheeks, he lowered his head and opened 2 messages, one from Lin Shu and one from Shen Yuexin. Lin Shu's information is, "You are in trouble this time. Those 2 strengths are not inferior to me. It is very difficult for you to fight. I will block you once at most, but according to the rules, everyone has 3 challenges, and you can't avoid it." This cousin, he bit his lip and replied, "You don't need to be so troublesome. It can't be avoided anyway. It doesn't make much sense for you to block once. Find a few confident opponents and try to perform well. I will handle my affairs myself." Sending a message, his lips twitched slightly. Even if he feels a little warmth from the care of his family, there is also a malicious mockery of the outside world. Now in everyone's heart, is he really powerless to resist? Yes, it is. In fact, he is indeed like this in the hearts of others. After all, the throne he is sitting on is made of stone, which is a few grades lower than that of silver. Generally speaking, if there is a teacher who is optimistic about the strength, he will never condescend to sit down, not only for face, as well as real benefits. But no one ever thought that the main reason for him sitting here is not lack of strength, but poverty, and he can't even get a card to challenge a higher seat. Hey, he had some nasty imaginings of everyone's jaws dropping after his car flipped over 2 malicious silver players later. He lowered his head and opened the message sent by Shen Yuexin. "Hey, nephew, your situation is not very good now. Do you want Aunt to give it a hand?" In his mind, she couldn't help but giggled while sending a message. She tilted her head with a smile and replied, "Is Auntie going to take care of me? I won't be sleepy after this." Hey Tui, the beauty of thinking. By the way, who is Guor? It's my nickname. Shen Yuexin's delicate little face was full of doubts. Turn off the communication. This is not the time to pick up girls, just sit quietly and wait for the challenge to start. As the host announced loudly, the entire venue fell silent, all the whispers disappeared instantly, and more than half of the people's eyes fell on him and the 2 silver players. Everyone was expecting who would challenge him first. However, when the 2 silver players were still making eye contact to see who would go first, Lin Xiao first stood up and pointed to one of them, saying loudly, "I want to challenge Li Xiangyang." The audience was silent, everyone was stunned for a moment, and the next second, the noisy discussion was loud. "Damn, it's too arrogant to dare to challenge. You were wrong about this. This is not arrogance but self-knowledge. Anyway, it will definitely be challenged. It is better to strike first and gain a name for courage. There is a hammer to use, but it is not to be eliminated." The comments were basically one-sided, almost no one was optimistic about him, and Lin Xiao didn't care, just looked at each other quietly. Li Xiangyang, who was challenged by him, was about to explode with anger. Before he challenged himself, he was challenged by the other party first. He was so angry that he immediately stood up and said word by word, "I accept your challenge." As soon as the voice fell, the challenge was established, and the 2 disappeared at the same time. The familiar virtual plane appeared again. The 2 stood at one end of each other, and there were no spectators around. At this stage, no one could watch the battle of others. However, above the virtual plane, there were several numbers in the huge pupil. There are 10 powerful wills, which are the wills of the observation representatives from various universities. Although this summer camp is hosted by the military and the military selects elites, the purpose of selecting elites by the military does not conflict with the selection of outstanding students by universities. Even if they are selected by the military, they are not serving now, they are just reservists. Before that, they still have to go to school and even take the college entrance examination normally. The task of these observers is to observe these students, evaluate the strength and potential of the students, and then issue special invitations or intention invitations to the students they like. The special invitation does not need to be explained, it is literally. Intention invitation means that the students are very good, but they have not reached the standard of special recruitment, so they can only give an intention invitation, and the students who have obtained the invitation will have priority when they apply for this institution in the future. Like these key universities or top universities, the number of students who apply for the exam every year exceeds the number of students who meet the requirements. This means that many students who meet the requirements cannot study and can only be transferred to other universities. At this time, the role of priority comes. You can have priority to enter this school. Normally, students on the stone seats like Lin Xiao could not get into the sight of observers from top universities. The main reason was that the Raging Flames team replaced him with 2 silver players, which made them very curious, plus they just inspected the silver players. Li Xiangyang. This time, the will of the observers unabashedly appeared in the pupils of the sky, and both Lin Xiao and Li Xiangyang could clearly sense it. Li Xiangyang, who just wanted to teach his opponent a good lesson, got 12 points of energy and decided to show all his strength in the later duel to defeat his opponent in a destructive manner. But unfortunately, Lin Xiao thought so too. It has nothing to do with the appearance of the observers, he thought so when he took the initiative to challenge his opponent before. 13,000 Murlocs and 800 Nagas are all his subordinates who can fight now. It could have been more, but before he consumed millions of the power of faith in one breath, and used the supernatural ability of reproduction to make more than 100 big Naga pregnant with small Naga, which would not be able to play. But that's enough. As a silver player, Li Xiangyang's strength is not much different from that of the slightly low-key Lin Shu. There are 3 kinds of clans, more than 4,000 main battle clan Tauren, more than 2,000 auxiliary clan Rabbitmen, and more than 7,000 cannon fodder clan Lizardmen. This Tauren is a real Tauren, with a height of about 2.23 meters. He is muscular and powerful. He is wearing a custom-made Tauren armor. Scrape off a layer of skin. Their weapon is a double-edged axe with a large wheel, and its lethality is terrifying at first glance. The Tauren is not equipped with long-range weapons, because only half of the more than 7,000 Lizardmen are cannon fodder warriors, and the other half are Lizardmen archers who have been transferred to the archer profession, and their long-range output is powerful. As for the auxiliary bunnymen, they were self-defense with a crossbow in hand, and dozens of bunnymen pushed a cart together. Lin Xiao narrowed his eyes and looked at it. For a moment he couldn't see what was inside the tightly wrapped wooden body. It didn't look like a chariot anyway. This is the first time that Lin Xiao has seen an opponent with a 3rd type of family. He is quite powerful, and he is looking forward to it. The 2 sides did not have any nonsense, and quickly lined up in a random wasteland plane, and the wills of the observers in the pupil above the plane of the sky were also communicating with each other. Lin Xiao narrowed his eyes and looked at the other side of the plane. At the beginning of the battle, Li Xiangyang's more than 2,000 auxiliary family bunnymen took out a small hammer and hit the car body. The body quickly unfolded to 7 or 8 meters, and gradually assembled into a huge assembly machine. Large ballista. This thing looks like several bed crossbows are assembled in a row, and it can fire 15 large finger-thick steel crossbow arrows at the same time, both in terms of lethality and penetrating power. Sure enough, those who can sit on the silver level are not weak. Now the 3rd family has developed in a similar way. It seems that the strength of both Gucheng and Lin Shu is stronger than what I saw before. I saw them before. The strength displayed is probably only a part of their real strength, and they did not go all out. Similarly, Wu Zonglin's previous strength is definitely only a small part of himself, and his real strength is estimated to be much stronger than what everyone sees. After the formation of the 2 sides was completed, the Tauren leader gave an order, and the huge Tauren phalanx advanced layer by layer with heavy steps. The Lizardmen cannon fodder and archers on the left and right followed at the same speed. The ballista also moved along with it, and it was obvious that Li Xiangyang was also fighting the tactic of crushing. Lin Xiao was naturally unwilling to be outdone. With the order of the hero Slarda, all the family members were also divided into the left, middle and right wings and slowly advanced forward, and the battle was about to start. Above the sky, the 2 of them looked at each other a bit apart, and both of them were full of confidence. He didn't feel guilty because the other party had more than a dozen ballistas, and Li Xiangyang didn't feel scared because he saw 17 supernatural rank Naga, but there were dozens of tyrannical wills in the pupils of the sky, and all the relatives of both sides discussed after the appearance, in succession. Chapter 133. So we want this student from Tianqing Higher Education Institute. One of the tyrannical wills stared at the extremely tall Naga in the fish crowd, hesitated for a while before saying, "There's something wrong with this Naga. Well, I don't think it's quite right, it's not like Naga." This sentence is somewhat contradictory, but it is amazing that other wills can understand this sentence. One of the wills paused before saying, Although I don't have a Naga family, I also know that a normal Naga will not grow this big. Yes, although the normal Naga advancement has grown in size, the increase is not so large, and it is not as large as this one. The Naga of the same extraordinary rank should have a stronger aura. He also thinks so. This Naga is too big. He raised his eyebrows, ignoring the flexibility of many big Nagas to avoid trees and stones. With such a large size, it is easy to become a living target on the battlefield, and the adaptability is not high. Makes sense. A tyrannical will with a very recognizable tone, turned the conversation and said, "It's such a waste for this student to have such a flashy family. I have to find an opportunity to criticize it, so we want this student from the Tianqing Higher Education Institute. I'll mark it first." Wait a moment. Immediately someone stopped. "I won't bother you with this. Who doesn't know that I like to point newcomers the most? Your words are easy to scare people, so I'll do this kind of thing. Come on, I remember that you once taught a certain female student to cry, you are not suitable." "Nonsense, that's my granddaughter. Isn't that your student too?" "Ah, there are so many people here, have you asked our opinion?" The simulated knock on the table sounded, but both of them ignored it. The first one said, "If you have any opinions, you can send an official letter to this school later. I am now performing my duties seriously. Why are you so shameless? So many people are here, can you grab it?" The man said in an indifferent tone. "Did I rob it? I just marked it. If you are willing, you can also mark it. After the summer camp is over, everyone can grab it according to their ability." As soon as the words were spoken, dozens of marks were instantly marked on his body at a level that Lin Xiao could not see. Then, everyone fell silent and focused on the two armies that were approaching quickly, especially the 800-odd large but very agile big Naga. The 4,000 Tauren had already pulled down their visors when they were about 100 meters apart. The sharp ramming angle of the forehead was facing the front. The wheeled axe was raised high in a combat posture. 100 Tauren, the lizardmen archers behind them began to put arrows on their bows and draw them full. Bang bang bang. The bowstring flicked a phantom, and the arrows shot up into the sky, forming a dense rain of arrows with thousands of arrows thrown towards the front of the Murlocs. Thousands of Murloc warlocks raised their hands at the same time, and the air above the front line for several kilometers was distorted. A layer of blue sea water essence appeared on the top of the Murloc striker's head, and the blue light was blocked by thousands of arrows. Yo, so many Murloc warlocks. Many wills only noticed the group of Murlocs who were thinner than their counterparts in the rear. It's not that they have bad eyesight, but that their attention was attracted by the big Naga, and the Murloc cannon fodder directly made them ignore it. After all, it is a Murloc. Even if the cannon fodder race is at the bottom of the waste material race, it is really difficult for people to notice. Even if Lin Xiao's Murloc is stronger than the same kind, it is still a Murloc. It is normal to ignore it. The forwards of the two sides approached quickly, and after blocking 6 waves of arrows in a row, when the distance between the forwards of the two sides was already less than 50 meters, the front row of Murlocs burst out and leapt 50 meters at the same time. A large area was poured down, and the Tauren of the Central Army, with its strong physique and strength, and strong enough defense, even managed to hold it down. Although it was overturned by the car, it quickly climbed up, and there was no fatal injury. Lin Xiao was quite surprised. This was the first time he saw an opponent who could hold the Murloc's salted fish stab out. Obviously, Li Xiangyang's group of Tauren's equipment is better than the opponent's equipment in the past, and the armor defense is higher. If the material of the opponent's armor was iron, Li Xiangyang's group of Tauren were equipped with steel armor. And steel is divided into low-quality steel, high-quality steel, refined steel, high-carbon steel, magic steel, etc. The higher the material, the more expensive the steel is, and it is still custom Tauren equipment, this Li Xiangyang is sure. He is a very rich master, no wonder he can become one of the 36 silver players. One's own strength is one part, and another part is being well equipped. In the case that the strength of this class is not much different, the quality of equipment can completely determine the strength gap between the same silver players. Fortunately, Lin Xiao's current strength is different from before. Although he is a little poor, his hard power is strong enough. Anyway, it's a simulated battle, so don't be afraid of battle damage. Slarda's command is more unrestrained than usual. He directly ordered the forward Murlocs to separate from the left and right, and the middle army Naga rushed out from the center of the separated forwards, directly facing the Tauren phalanx who was not to be outdone. Collision. It's about to start. Dozens of tyrannical wills were revived, and Lin Shao was also concentrating on overlooking the battlefield. In the center of the Tauren phalanx, a Tauren hero raised a wheeled axe and shouted, "Charge!" The Tauren loaded with the warrior profession template slumped slightly, the grass under his feet exploded, and the rapid acceleration dragged the afterimage and slammed into the big Naga who was rushing forward with the snake tail swinging rapidly. Boom! Slarda slammed the anchor on the ground, and the big Naga in the front row carried a fine iron weapon in each hand, or a two-handed sword or battle axe, and the thick snake tail slammed into the grass. Depressed, the body flashed and came first, and halfway, it collided with the charging Tauren. Bang, bang, bang. The Tauren who dragged out the afterimages and the big Naga collided out of thin air. A circle of invisible energy swayed around the collider. The weeds on the ground were overwhelmed by the invisible wind, and after a momentary stalemate, all the Tauren were knocked upside down for dozens of meters, knocking down a bunch of companions like a bowling ball. All the big Nagadons were on the spot. There was a fist-sized blood hole in the waist and abdomen, and occasionally the scales on the waist were broken and a large wound that was more than half a meter was not very deep. Fast healing. Fuck. Advanced regeneration. What a hard body. Li Xiangyang only noticed the super-fast recovery speed, and did not have as much experience and attention as the observers. The dozens of observers were amazed not by the big Naga's recovery ability, but by its unexpectedly powerful physique. With their eyesight, they can estimate the general strength of the target with just a glance. They had been very optimistic about the strength of the big Naga before, but Junger Baijan's fighting performance was beyond their expectations. You must know that these Tauren can charge with an axe. The axe is made of high-quality steel. The lethality brought by the simultaneous charging with such a powerful force from both sides can cut off a thigh-thick iron column in the middle. In their estimation, this axe will definitely cause huge damage to the big Naga without armor, but in fact the damage caused by this axe is less than half of what they expected, which is very exaggerated. Seemingly only half, but in battle is often the difference between life and death. To give a simple example, a knife is stabbed in the chest, the strength is not enough, and the tip of the knife is only 1 inch away from the heart. If the strength is increased by 50%, the depth of the extra insertion is definitely more than 1 inch. This is the difference between life and death. Li Xiangyang's complexion changed on the spot. After just one try, he knew that these huge Naga were definitely not silver like wax gun heads. Even if there is an absolute advantage in quantity, if the individual strength differs too much, a quantitative advantage is not an advantage. But he was not discouraged, and commanded his family to slow down the offensive through Shenyu, and wait for the ballista behind him to come up. The ballista itself is specially used to deal with powerful individuals. The thick armor-piercing arrows are wound with a winch, and the force of the shot can pierce through the thick city gate. He does not believe that these big Naga bodies are harder than the city gate. It's just that although his plan is good, it's not easy for Lin Shao to operate if he doesn't cooperate. The first wave of the injured Naga took the breath away, and the second wave of the Naga had already rushed over their companions, especially the 13 extraordinary whale hunter knights. The 12-meter body was like a giant beast, and its speed was faster than that of a giant. The companion is faster, and the speed is no longer limited at this time, just like 13 tanks slammed into the Tauren phalanx, and the big axe chopped by the brave Tauren slammed into the phalanx, and the thick tail slammed into the phalanx. With a flick, it swept away a piece with absolute power. Then the sturdy and powerful snake body bowed and bounced up dozens of meters high like a meteor and slammed down. There was a deafening loud boom, and the violent shock wave wrapped the sky and shattered the earth and smashed its head and face to the 4 directions. Looking down from the sky, you can see 13 holes with a diameter of more than 30 meters blasted out in the Tauren phalanx with the thunder of the 13 whale hunters, and the huge phalanx was instantly messed up. Not in formation. The extraordinary arms are so domineering, there is no obstacle of the same level of extraordinary, and they are basically rampaging like tanks before being besieged. Li Xiangyang was forced to mobilize a large number of lizardmen archers to gather, and countless arrows focused on the big Naga, who were rampaging on the ground one after another. The clanging sound was endless, and most of the arrows could not even shoot through the scales of the whale hunter knight. In theory, as long as the bow is good and the arrow is good, even a first-level lizardman archer can shoot through the scales of an extraordinary level whale hunter. But this has a premise, that is, don't let it shoot, and you need to charge up to full. These preconditions are obviously impossible to achieve on the battlefield. In the case of high-speed movement, the arrow must be stronger to ignore the inertia and penetrate the target armor. This is not something that a low-level race like the lizardmen can do. Therefore, in less than a minute, 13 extraordinary Nagas defeated Li Xiangyang's central army. Even if the Tauren was very brave, and fell into a disadvantage, he didn't collapse, but he couldn't beat him. Chapter 134. The innate talent of dominance, which is so powerful that the observers are shocked. Li Xiangyang looked down on the plain unwillingly. At this time, his family had been completely defeated by the enemy's offensive. The Tauren legion of the Central Army was messed up by 13 transcendent Nagas, and the left and right flanks could not be beaten. Then, with 2 whale hunter knights rushing into the battle, the left and right flanks, dominated by Null cannon fodder, collapsed directly. The Tauren's skin is thick and fleshy, and the armor is thick enough to carry. If the Null was swept by a big Naga of more than 10 meters, it would be crushed into flesh on the spot and died quite miserably. The defeat was set, and there was nothing he could do if he didn't want to be reconciled, but seeing the big Naga in his own formation, he was full of unwillingness. Although there are no super-class arms, these ballistas are powerful and can cause fatal damage to super-class arms. Seeing this sturdy and powerful snake tail, a transcendent Naga threw away the nearby Tauren and quickly rushed towards the ballista. Ready, let go. The strings of more than a dozen ballistas slammed into phantoms, and the thick armor-piercing arrows placed on the crossbows flickered. Then I saw the big Naga, who was rushing towards the ballista without dodging or dodging, slammed back, leaning back to the point of turning a big circle on the back of her head, and then swayingly stood up again. Impossible. Shit, do you borrow arrows from the grass boat? When he saw the state of the big Naga at this time, Li Xiangyang's eyes almost popped out. The sound of lying in the back came from the observers watching the battle. Everyone stared at the plain as if they had seen the undead. The tall figure kept swaying back and forth as if it was about to fall down at any time, but he insisted on holding on. Did not fall. At this time, the extraordinary big Naga looked like a hedgehog, with a thick armor-piercing crossbow inserted in the chest, and blood flowed down the exposed tail of the arrow, because there were too many arrows, as if the whole body was bleeding. 18 ballistas, each with 15 armor-piercing steel crossbow arrows that were 2 meters long, more than 80% of the more than 200 crossbow arrows all hit, and even the head was hit by no less than 10 arrows. What is this concept? Lin Xiao didn't know how to describe it for a while, and after thinking about it for a long time, he came up with the illusion of borrowing arrows from a straw boat. However, with such a terrifying injury, he has not died suddenly on the spot, and he can still stand. The strength of his vitality is simply abnormal. This is not a simple and tenacious support before death. This is really alive. Lin Xiao can see it. How can the eyes of many observers not see it? And it is because of this that they can't help but scream. Talented body. Creatures with this talent are very powerful, with +3 physique and +3 strength, will remove all their weaknesses, be immune to lethality, greatly weaken the negative status and damage from spells, reduce certain physical damage, and have a very strong powerful regeneration and vitality. With a talent like a bug and a powerful physique with extraordinary life, more than 200 armor-piercing arrows all hit without dying. This heroic characteristic directly made Li Xiangyang lose his fighting spirit and chose to surrender. The fighting is over, but discussions among numerous observers continue. Well, the scramble to be precise, it just started after the battle was over. As well-informed observers, they can get a general idea of Lin Xiao's situation with only a small amount of information. For example, the big Naga is a newly created species rather than an existing race. For example, the big Naga is already a higher race, for example, he already has the priesthood of creation and so on. It is not unusual for them to have the clergy of creation. There are many geniuses in human civilization, and a group emerges every year. It is true that there are people like him who create new races by themselves, and the clergy of creation does not have to create new species to appear. There are other ways. Lin Xiao's possession of the clergy of creation in the first year of high school can only be regarded as a bonus. The main reason why he really decided to make many observers who have seen more than N geniuses interested lies in the strength and potential of the Big Naga. Potential alone can only make people optimistic, but if a part of the potential has been converted into strength, then its value is higher than anyone with only potential but no strength, strong strength but no follow-up potential. Even if you know that its potential is tapped, it will be earth-shattering. Therefore, when Lin Xiao just came out of the virtual plane, he received several private chat invitations before he recovered. The sender of the letter directly indicated that it was an observer from a certain school. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, knowing that. But he didn't respond immediately, because at this time everyone in the hall was shocked that he and Li Xiangyang suddenly switched positions after coming out of the virtual plane. Lin Xiao was also a little surprised when he pressed the silver armrest under the seat, because according to normal circumstances, it should be 2 wins in 3 games. There is only one possibility for this situation now. Li Xiangyang believes that he is not an opponent at all and completely admits defeat. If I'm not mistaken, they should have only played once, so why did they switch positions? It won't be a bug, will it? People who say this sentence don't believe it, but they really can't think of any other reason besides this reason. Or they have thought of the real reason, but they are afraid and unwilling to believe it. In particular, another silver player named Hoyaki was a little panicked, and quickly privately chatted with Li Xiangyang and asked, "Xiangyang, what's the matter with you?" Li Xiangyang was silent for a long time before he said in a low and feeble voice, "That's it, I lost." After a pause, he continued, "If you want to ask me what to do, my advice is not to challenge him. You can't beat him, you have no chance at all." Hoyaki froze for a moment and asked in a low voice, "But everyone knows that we have to challenge him to prove our strength. If we don't even dare to challenge, our evaluation in the minds of mentors and observers will definitely be greatly reduced. Hehe, if you are not as skilled, you must be willing to give in to the disadvantage. Sometimes a wise choice is also an advantage. You can rest assured that now the observers have a good idea of his strength. If you dare not challenge him, no one will laugh at you." Hoyaki had the heart to ask again, but seeing the look of his companions being hit hard, he thought about it and stopped asking. Looking up at the next door, Lin Xiao just happened to look over, grinning and showing 2 rows of white and neat teeth and asked, "Didn't you say you were going to challenge me? I'm waiting." Hoyaki opened his mouth, and then saw that many people around him were looking at him, and he was in a dilemma for a while. The frustration and advice of his companions made him want to beat the drum, but the expectations of so many people made him unable to say what to quit. If he said it, he would only be ridiculed by everyone. People don't care how strong your opponent is, they will only say that you are a softy who dares not even challenge, and will only boast. Wait, whether I win or lose has nothing to do with other people. A flash of light in his mind seemed to grasp something. After thinking about it carefully, the more he thought about it, the clearer his thinking became. Suddenly, he laughed and said to himself, "I was really carried away by anger. Why should I do meaningless things because of other people's opinions? Moreover, the tutor replaced us with him because he was optimistic about him. This has nothing to do with him, why should I target him?" Quote, Hoyaki can go this far, and becoming an excellent elite in the summer camp is not only from a good background, but also extremely good, and he quickly figured out the joints. Of course, the most important thing is to beat him. If he can beat him, he will definitely not hesitate to challenge Lin Xiao to teach him a lesson. Even if he couldn't beat it, he chose to take a step back because he knew the current affairs well, bowed his hands to Lin Xiao, and said solemnly, "I don't have much difference in strength with Li Xiangyang. You can make brother Xiangyang bow down and be convinced. Naturally, I am not your opponent. You and I have no grudges, so it is better to stop here." Lin Xiao glanced at him in surprise, and nodded a little. It's best to be so natural. In this way, they have exposed this matter. But the people around who wanted to watch the fun were very disappointed, and immediately someone below said in a low voice, "Cut, I thought there was a lot of bullshit, but it turns out that one is more cowardly than the other. I think you should not stay on it, lest. The voice stopped abruptly. The man stared at Hoyaki, and the other side looked at him expressionlessly and said, "There are so many words, and you look down on me so much, so let's do something." Although Hoyaki was at the silver level and that person was at the bronze level, they belonged to the same level in the division of the lower, middle, upper, and top tiers of each major team, so he could not refuse Hoyaki's challenge. The challenge from a higher level made him regret why he was rude, and what made him most desperate was the indifferent gaze from Li Xiangyang on the other side. Lin Xiao smiled, and the cheap-mouthed people have tasted the consequences now. According to the best of three system, Hoyaki and Li Xiangyang challenged at the same time. With this example, other people who want to ridicule quickly silenced, and there must be contempt in their hearts, but they never dare to show it. I thought how powerful, but also a coward. Tang Ling looked back in disappointment, not daring to let the two find out. Looking around, Lin Xiao looked at each and everyone confidently, without any fear in his eyes. Sweeping across the ancient city, the strongest student from Yunmeng province gave him a nod with a smile. His attitude was obviously different from before. Seeing Lin Shu, this fellow looked very surprised, his eyes revealing the meaning of inquiry. He smiled slightly and made a gesture later. Seeing Shen Yuexin, the beautiful aunt blinked with big eyes, but she could also feel her surprise. Finally swept the top layer of gold level, you can see that they were slightly surprised. It's just a bit of a surprise, not a surprise, the kind that doesn't care much, especially those few. In fact, these geniuses who don't know where they came from together with Wu Zonglin have always looked down on everyone except them. Even Qin Fengyan didn't take the initiative to communicate with others in the team. It can be seen that in their hearts everyone there is trash. At this time, his eyes happened to meet the black-haired young man in the center of the 9 golden thrones surrounded by hundreds of thrones on the top floor, and the young man smiled gently at him. The smile is gentle and comfortable. He could feel it wasn't like pretending, and there was no need to. Lin Xiao smiled and nodded in return. Only then did he have time to sit down and regain his senses to confirm a few observers and private chats with a few acquaintances. Chapter 135 Special Invitation and Rejection. The acquaintance replied, "Wait a moment, for the time being." What he most wanted to see now was the private chat between these observers from different institutions of higher learning about what they wanted to do. First of all, the first observer from the Tianqing Institute of Higher Education, as soon as he was connected, heard a voice of a burly man in his mind and said, "Student Lin Xiao, after observing you, we believe that you are good enough to be worthy of our invitation. In the name of Tianqing University, we will send you a special invitation letter, please consider it carefully." Tianqing Institute of Higher Learning. A series of information immediately appeared in Lin Xiao's mind. When he received the invitation letter for the Super Freshman Summer Camp, he had already recorded all the information of the summer camp organizer. Among the 5 super universities in Huasha District and 133 key universities, the Tianqing Higher Education Institute ranked in the middle. In the main world, there are a total of 12 super universities and 800 institutions of higher learning, also called key universities and first-class universities. Outside these 800 institutions of higher learning, there are ordinary institutions of higher learning. There are quite a lot of them, some strong and some weak. The strongest are not inferior to the lower-ranked institutions of higher learning, and some may even surpass the lower-ranked institutions of higher education. Schools, but in the end it belongs to ordinary schools. There are 5 Huasha districts of 12 super universities, and more than 300 Huasha districts of 800 key universities. The Super Freshman Summer Camp is the top freshman activity in China and even the main world, jointly organized by 5 super colleges and 133 institutions of higher learning. The purpose is not only to select some outstanding students through the summer camp, to see if there are any missing talents besides those who have become famous young talents, but also to increase the popularity of the school. Although all institutions of higher learning can be held, there are so many institutions of higher learning in the main world, plus so many ordinary institutions of higher learning, among which there are some universities whose comprehensive strength exceeds that of ordinary institutions of higher education. If the school does not maintain its own reputation, it will be easily surpassed by others. The annual Super Freshman Summer Camp is one of the top freshman activities in the Maine world. Participating in the summer camp can well maintain the reputation of the school. As for the selection of elite talents, it is also one of the main tasks. Just like in the ancient Washoe era before Lin Xiao passed through, many universities were keen to compete for the top spot in the college entrance examination, and they did not hesitate to use high scholarships to attract them. In ancient times, the competition for genius was to increase the reputation of the school, but now the competition for genius is to actually enhance the foundation of the school. In this super fantasy age of gods, every student with great potential and strength is a god reserve, and training to become a true god will increase the academy's own heritage and real strength, and they can't help but fight. It's a pity that Lin Xiao has no interest in this Tianqing Higher College. It was definitely something he wanted to replace with someone else, but for him, the Tianqing Higher Education Institute, which was in the middle of the ranking of higher education institutions, was not very attractive to him. It is not necessary to enter the 5 super universities in Washoe District, but it is also the top 20 institutions of higher learning. The top 20 institutions of higher learning are all behemoths, and it is enough to have a big backer. It is not required to be specific. Backing. I really don't have much requirements for this Lin Xiao, but it doesn't mean that there are no requirements at all. So he thought about it, and politely rejected the observer. Soon, the observer of the Tianqing University of Higher Education sent another letter, asking again sincerely, and was willing to provide a scholarship. But Lin Xiao politely refused. The other party was helpless and did not continue to invite. Anyway, higher education institutions also need face, and it is impossible to get together if they are not invited twice. Then look at the second private letter, the special invitation letter from the Dark Moon Institute of Higher Learning. The content format is basically the same. The ranking of the Dark Moon Higher Education Institute is not much higher than that of the Tianqing Higher Education Institute. The third private message was from Wanggu University of Higher Learning, which ranked 48th among the 800 institutions of higher learning. Lin Xiao thought about it and left this as a tentative decision. Fourth private message, from. He saw the 24th private letter in one breath, and was also the last institution of higher learning willing to issue special invitation letters and scholarships. There were dozens of observers from institutions of higher learning watching the battle just now, and dozens of them sent private letters. But only 24 were willing to recruit him, and the rest only sent letters of intent. To sum up, the rankings of the colleges that are willing to recruit him are not very high, and the highest is the Wanggu Institute of Higher Education, which ranks 48th. The ranking of the letters of intent is high. The highest one is from the 4th-ranked Eternal Will Institute of Higher Education, but I have not seen any super colleges. Well, there are no observers in the super colleges. As the main organizers, the 5 super colleges have the right to choose first, and they can choose their favorite students first after the summer camp. Generally speaking, if the 5 super universities send out special invitation letters, basically very few students will refuse the invitation, and Lin Xiao is no exception. Finally, after reading all the private messages, Lin Xiao thought about it and rejected them all. For no other reason, he just didn't like it. If you want the 5 super universities, or the top 20 institutions of higher learning to send special invitation letters, he doesn't have to consider agreeing. It's okay to be lower than this ranking. He is only a senior now. There is still a lot of time to grow, and there will be time in the future. Pick. After processing these private messages, he was free to check the messages sent by acquaintances. The first thing I saw was Lin Xiao's message. The little uncle didn't say anything, only sent a series of question marks. He pinched his chin, a smile appeared on his face involuntarily, and replied. The previous elimination test in the team was a real invasion. I got a few big guys, which are very powerful. But Lin Xiao didn't respond. He looked up. Good guy. He was being challenged by others and didn't have time to respond. She shrugged and gave Shen Yuexin back again, for the same reason. After he finished speaking, he closed the private chat because she was also challenging others. Everyone is busy challenging or being challenged. Lin Xiao sees that he still needs to challenge 2 opponents or be challenged twice, but just now he defeated the silver player Li Xiangyong. Now it is estimated that no one will take the initiative to challenge him. He needs to take the initiative to challenge himself. Complete 3 challenges first. According to the rules, if you win all 3 challenges, you can get a total of 6 mythical quality cards, as well as an extra card slot and a chance to leapfrog challenge. If the challenge is successful, you can get an ancient god card and an extra card. This reward is very exciting, but it is not so easy to get it. It is easy to win 3 times in a row. After all, his positioning is not high. At the same level, there are some silver players and some top-ranked bronze players, so it is not difficult to win. But the leapfrog challenge is a bit troublesome. There are not many choices in front of him, and Shen Yuexin has to be eliminated. She is a top-tier silver player by each team. Although Gucheng is a silver player, she has not been identified as a silver player. The strongest first order, and then get rid of the 6 gold players including Wu Zonglin, there are few he can choose. You must know that these are the ones who first sat on the golden throne, but were driven down by the 6. This does not mean that they are weak, but the opponents are too strong, and it is this group that he wants to challenge. His eyes swept across these players, and he was a little unsure which one to choose. After hesitating for a moment, he turned his gaze back to look down. If you can't make up your mind, don't think about it, and then finish the 3 challenges first. Looking between the bronze and silver, he finally landed on an unchallenged player in the bronze layer and initiated a challenge application to the other party. Persimmon, of course, is to pick up the soft pinching, steady. As soon as the application was sent, it was obvious that the man was stunned for a moment, then turned his head sharply to see Lin Xiao, and his face immediately showed a helpless expression. The challenge cannot be rejected. Although he is silver and the opponent is bronze, they are considered the same rank in the team division and cannot be rejected. He was familiar with the challenge of entering the virtual plane. After Lin Xiao overlooked the opponent's troops from the plane dome, he felt relieved and let Slarda take full command. The bronze player's strength is far lower than Li Xiangyang, so how could he be his opponent? Just after the end of the round, the opponent directly conceded defeat and did not continue the second round. But according to the rules, his seat also fell from the bronze layer to the black iron layer, moved the seat from the bronze layer to the black iron layer, and the seat material also changed from bronze to black iron. At this stage, there is no longer a limit on the number of seats at all levels. For example, there are 36 seats in silver. If 2 silver players play against each other, one of them fails and falls to the bronze level, which is equivalent to 36 seats in silver. 72 bronzes become 73. This kind of situation is being staged at different levels, and people are constantly falling from the upper level to the lower level, or different levels are reversed. But most of them were players without seats who failed to challenge and were eliminated, and their figures disappeared directly from the hall. Lin Xiao noticed that many acquaintances from Yunmeng province were also eliminated one after another, including several acquaintances. He can only express regret for this, and at this stage no one can help anyone. After picking up his mood, he randomly picked another bronze player. This strength is not much different from the previous one. It also took only 1 round to make the opponent surrender. So far, the 3 challenges have been completed, and the 6 mythical cards and extra card slots are in hand. It's as fast as picking up money with a sack. It is a pity that this experience of picking up money is over, and the next level challenge will be difficult. The opponent must have been selected among the top silver seats. Forget the gold seats, that is too difficult, even if the 3 gold seats other than the 6 are not good ones. Speaking of which, these 6 Lin Xiaos are not very familiar. Except for Wu Zonglin, the other 5 do not know where they come from, and their specific strengths are unclear. They only know that they are very strong, very strong. Although they are not comparable to Wu Zonglin, they are definitely he is a lot stronger than the strongest gold player on the field, and I don't know if he is the arrogant, peerless or outstanding player of the day. It stands to reason that if you can come with Wu Zonglin, there is a high probability that you will be a sub-list player. Definitely not as good as Wu Zonglin. I don't know if it's the 108th peerless sub-list or the 3000 outstanding sub-list. This kind of top master among his peers. To be honest, Lin Xiao really wanted to give them a try to see how far apart he was from them. But this time is not suitable. He still wants to take the ancient card and the extra card slot. It is better to be stable. It is a pity that the 3 challenge rewards are only settled after the end, the main reason is to prevent someone from completing the 3 levels first to quickly improve their strength and then challenge, otherwise he would like to get 6 mythic cards first to improve his strength. Lin Xiao was not very familiar with the strength of these top players, and did not spend much time thinking about it. He casually locked a silver player who had been eliminated from the gold level, and launched an application for a leapfrog challenge to the opponent. Chapter 136 The Extraordinary Two-Headed Ogre Mage. The player he challenged was named Li Shengyuan. At this time, he had already defeated 3 different enemies, and he was considering which gold player to challenge. Although he is a silver-level player like Lin Xiao, he is positioned at the top in his respective team, so the leapfrog challenge can only challenge the gold players. To be precise, there are only the 3 gold players, and the other 6 players have no one yet dare to challenge them. After receiving the challenge from Lin Xiao, Li Shengyuan was stunned for a moment, and then a trace of anger grew out of nowhere. So many challenges challenge me, do you think I am easy to deal with? Don't think that you are a character after winning a silver player. Today I will let you know that there is a huge gap between silver and silver. Quote question mark. Quote. Lin Xiao looked inexplicably at the inexplicable words of the opponent on the other side of the challenge plane. As soon as he entered the challenge interface, the man choked on his face as if he had eaten gunpowder. God is pitiful, he didn't mean to look down on the opponent at all, he just picked an opponent at random. What relationship? However, the other side obviously didn't want to hear his explanation, and quickly started to line up on the battlefield. Lin Xiao shrugged and said he was speechless, and quickly placed the projected family on the default plain battlefield, while observing the opponent's strength. But this look surprised him, his face instantly disappeared with ease, revealing a dignified expression. It is surprising that Li Shengyuan's main battle family is the famous ogre. This is a powerful species rated as the top 10 strongest and most tasteless intermediate races in the high school textbook, Exotic Race Spectrum. Ogres are a species with a simple mind and well-developed limbs. They are generally around 3.5 meters tall and weigh 300 to 400 kilograms. They are savage and violent, cannibalistic, cruel, astringent, lovesick, bad sex, etc. Ugly and extremely low IQ. Although it is rated as one of the most powerful intermediate races, very few people actually choose this race as their family, for reasons other than the above shortcomings. The most important disadvantage is that the IQ of the ogre is too low, and the belief value generated is the lowest among all intermediate races. In addition, the appetite is large, the desire for destruction is large, and it is difficult to control. It is difficult for anyone to use this race, family and developed. Of course, there is also a very important reason, that is, if the ogre is the main family, as a divine creature believed by the ogre, it will be more or less affected by the family. The most intuitive manifestation is irritability. At this time, Lin Xiao already knew why Li Shengyuan was angry just now. 9 times out of 10, it was the influence of the ogre from the main family. The reason why the ogre is rated as the strongest 10 middle-level races is because the lowest ogre is the 3rd-level army, which is equivalent to the Big Naga, and can be promoted to the 5th-level ogre leader at the highest, and there is a very small probability mutated, or awakened as a 2-headed ogre magician. This is an extraordinary species whose fighting power is even more perverted than the kobold dragon warlock. This is a truly extraordinary species, with extraordinary levels of physique, strength, hand-to-hand combat and spell combat, and is very powerful. As for such a double-headed ogre magician, Lin Xiao saw a full 10 of Li Shengyuan's more than 3,000 ogre family members. This battle is a little dangerous. 3,000 ogres that are slightly inferior to the Big Naga, 10 two-headed ogres of extraordinary level, nearly 10,000 gnolls, and more than 4,000 grey dwarves. These should be specially made weapons and equipment for the gnolls, the auxiliary race of the ogre, because of its cruel, bloodthirsty and ultra-high vitality characteristics, generally does not equip armor, and only needs a weapon to exert its strange power. Grey dwarves are dwarves, and their fighting power is even stronger than that of gnolls. Good guy. 2 intermediate races, plus 10,000 jackals, Li Shengyuan's subordinates add up to 17,000, and the lineup on paper has surpassed Lin Xiao. It is worthy of being recognized as the top tier by the tutor, and the elite who once sat on the golden throne is much stronger than Li Xiangyang, who is also a silver player. He settled down and gave all the believers a divine simile. The mighty and majestic voice was like thunder. Evil is stronger than ever before. My bravest warriors, hold the weapons in their hands, and give justice to evil, and I am watching you in heaven. All the Murlocs and the big Naga bowed down at the same time and prayed in a low voice. Praise you, Supreme Creator, King of the Sea, God of Naga and Murlocs, your power is unmatched, your glory shines on the world, your most devout believers have heard your call and have done well. Defend the glory of our Lord, and prepare everything for the Lord. I can feel your courage, I am watching you in heaven, waiting for your triumph. Woo! The longhorn sound echoed in the plain, and the two families at both ends of the plain began to send troops, and the equally large troops on both sides slowly expanded, and soon spread throughout the plain. In the pupil outside the plain they can't see, a dozen tyrannical wills are observing the battlefield. Compared to the last battle between Lin Xiao and Li Xiangyang, which had more than 50 tyrannical wills, this time there were far fewer people watching the battle. If he could sense it, he would find that it was the higher education institutions he had rejected that were missing. The fact is that when he refused the invitation letter for special recruitment, the observers of these higher education institutions gave up their observation of him. This is not a novel but a reality, unless he is a super genius like Wu Zonglin, who ranks on the sub-rank of Tianzhou list in the first year of high school, then he is qualified to let others fight for it after he refuses. If he refuses once normally, he will not be invited again. No matter what, people in higher education institutions, a lot of geniuses are rushing to get invitations for special recruitment. How can they be as tireless as they are in the novels? People don't have face. Most of the people who continued to watch the game were the colleges that had only given their intentions and no special recruits before, as well as a few new observers. Compared to challenging Li Xiangyang, the challenge to Li Yuansheng this time made them more interested. The plain terrain is the default plain terrain, which is fair to both sides. There are almost no ups and downs and no other terrain. One horse is very suitable for large-scale battles. The huge team took almost half an hour for the forwards of the two sides to approach. More than 2,000 little Murlocs and more than 4,000 Gnolls came into direct contact and charged at the same time. There was no accident. The little Murloc overturned the Gnoll who only loaded the ordinary warrior profession with the salted fish thrusting car. A wave of vehicles turned over a large area. After rushing into the crowd of wolves, one after another thunderbolt exploded, and the 4,000 Gnoll forwards formed on the spot. It was messed up and out of formation, and was systematically killed by the little fishmen. Li Shengyuan immediately ordered the forward to retreat, and at the same time ordered the ogre department to speed up the charge. This is exactly what Lin Xiao meant. Both the little fishmen and the big Naga are suitable races for head-to-head combat. In less than 10 minutes, the main forces of both sides were close to the chargeable distance. As the saying goes, once the number of people exceeds 10,000, it is boundless. Looking down from the sky, the two huge armies are slowly touching, and soon the melee will form a group, and the mountains and plains are full of heads. An ogre leader with a height of 4 meters raised a thick mace and swung it violently. There was a muffled sound of boom, and a little fishman was smashed into the ground. Broken blood flowed. The backhand smashed the little Murloc more than 10 meters away with another stick. His small eyes were full of cruelty and bloodthirsty, and roared towards another Murloc a few meters away. At this moment, a huge black shadow rushed over and knocked the ogre leader into the air. It was a big Naga warrior. After landing, the thick snake tail smashed violently, smashing a Gnoll on the side into meat patties, and the two two-handed swords slammed down, a harsh metal tearing sound, and two rushing gray the dwarfs slashed open with armor and blood, and the blood rushed to the ground. No matter the ogre or the big Naga, they are quite thick-skinned and powerful creatures. They are completely killing machines on the battlefield. The little Murlocs and Gnolls, which are fairly powerful, are too small in front of them, and they are completely unstoppable. Killing a circle of little Murlocs or Gnolls, the 5th level big Naga warrior and the 5th level ogre leader yelled at each other, collided with a bang, and an invisible wave exploded. The ground beneath their feet sank at the same time. The two big guys are large creatures. The big Naga warrior is 3 meters tall and 4 meters tall, and the ogre leader is 4 meters high. Both are monsters with amazing strength. No soldiers around them dare to approach. And such battles are all over the chaotic battlefield. The number of ogres is far more than the big Naga. There is a gap of nearly 3 times, but the average strength of the ogres is far less than that of the 5th order big Naga. Lin Shao's God's Domain has an ancient arena where he can train to improve his species' combat experience and professional experience, but Li Shengyuan's God's Domain does not have such a thing. The level of the ogre null in the God's Domain is to accumulate professional experience by fighting each other in peacetime. It is difficult to increase the species' experience by increasing the occupation level. Therefore, regardless of the level of ogres or nulls, the ranks are uneven, and there are less than 200 leaders who have reached the 5th level of 3,000 ogres. Moreover, even if they were also promoted to the 5th level ogre leader, they would not be able to beat the big Naga who had been transformed and evolved by Lin Shao using the magic cube several times. On the battlefield, the big Naga's thick snake tail wrapped around the ogre's legs, causing him to fall to the ground. The sturdy and powerful snake's waist was raised, and the ogre was forced to raise his mace and smash it, holding up 2 sharp two-handed swords and stabbed fiercely, blood soaring. But immediately another ogre rushed up and smashed the big Naga to the ground, and the ogre below had not died, but became fierce because of the injury, hugged the big Naga and showed a mouth full of confusion and stench. The yellow teeth of the nose bit down, and the hard scales bit through on the spot. Although the vitality of the ogre is not as strong as the tyrant of the big Naga, it is also famously powerful, and these 2 swords are not enough to kill. 1 Naga and 2 ogres immediately rolled into a ball and hit a few soldiers flying, attracting another ogre to rush over and smash them down with a mace, regardless of whether they would hit their companions or not. Chapter 137 Weak Advantage. The result was that he did hit his companion, and the big Naga took the opportunity to bounce the 2 ogres away, and the strong and powerful snake tail slammed the ground to support him, and once again slashed down with a sword, accompanied by a crisp, click, sound. A ferociously ugly ogre's head flew out, and the 2-handed sword slashed deep into the ground until it fell into the handle. No matter how tenacious the ogre's vitality is, if its head is chopped off, it will surely die. After 1 ogre was killed, the remaining 2 ogres roared in anger, and rushed forward without fear to fight with the big Naga. The combat power is good, the same level as superior. An observer commented first, then paused and said, "I don't know what the reproductive capacity is, I hope it's not too low." An observer immediately said, "It feels that the reproductive capacity is not high, and it is less than 1,000 now." The observer who spoke first flashed his eyes and said casually, "The practicality has to be discounted. Indeed, although the strength is strong, the practicality is not enough if the number is not large, but the flaws do not hide the advantages, and it has the value of carving. I will take a look. If I can send a special invitation letter." As soon as the voice fell, there was a will that was quite surprised and said, "It seems that you either only have 5 special recruits this year, are you willing to spend it on him?" The will to speak first did not answer, but just asked, "Why, you want the heart of the holy dragon too? Have the idea, but have to watch it again. Okay then." The will from the ether nodded and returned to the battlefield. At this time, the battlefield was completely chaotic. From time to time, 2 or 3 or 4 ogres were seen besieging a big Naga, especially with the entry of the 2-headed ogre mages and the big Naga whale hunters from both sides. The war situation has entered a state of white hot. At this time, there is basically no need for any command, and it is entirely based on the strength of their respective families. Slarda lifted the anchor and quickly swam to the battlefield, and suddenly his body suddenly bounced dozens of meters high and slammed into a tall figure in front of him. A huge flaming fireball just bounced and landed on the place where it just landed. With a loud bang, a mass of flames exploded and covered more than half of the basketball court. In it, both the little murlocs and the jackals were all smashed to pieces. This is a 2-headed ogre with a height of 5 meters and 2 ugly heads. Although the power of the explosive fireball it fires is not comparable to that of the dragon-breathing fireball of the kobold dragon warlock, it is not something like a fisherman can resist. In one hand he held a thick steel shield the size of a big round table for a banquet, and in the other hand a huge mace. The 5 or 6 meter long mace was thicker than an ordinary person's waist, and was covered with more than 10 centimeters. Long steel thorns, striding towards Slarda like a tank. Slarda, who fell from the sky, swept away the surrounding soldiers with a flick of his tail, and his huge body turned to face the two-headed ogre rushing forward. The huge body of 20 meters rushed out like lightning, and in an instant, it spanned a distance of more than 200 meters and slammed into the two-headed ogre. Slardar's salted fish stab has been converted into a hero ability, and the charge distance has been greatly increased. The two-headed ogre magician also responded quickly, with a cruel and sly smile on his ugly face. One of the heads spit an unknown spell, and a layer of red flames emerged to protect the whole body, holding a giant shield, and strode forward. Boom! The two behemoths collided fiercely, and the huge anchor head hit the center of the giant shield. With a loud noise that shattered the eardrums, an invisible distortion exploded like lightning, and the 2 feet collapsed and sank. A thick layer of broken soil and grass collapsed on the surrounding ground, and was rushed in all directions like waves. After a brief wrestling of less than 0.1 seconds, the 2 heads and 4 eyes of the two-headed ogre magician widened at the same time, the flames covering the shield surface collapsed, and the center of the giant shield sank inward as the anchor hit, deformation, steep burst. The terrifying power of Slajana, which is comparable to the 7th order supernatural level, was increased 5 times by hero skills, giving the anchor a single blow. In the eyes of Lin Xiao above the sky, he saw that the double-headed cannibal was smashed with the anchor's blow. Behind the magician's giant shield, the entire space is distorted, like a transparent light film in the spot, forming a vision that pulls down, forming a clear layered space impression, slamming into the double space with the anchor. On the head of the ogre mage. Boom! The huge two-headed ogre magician was like an ordinary person who was hit in the abdomen by an anti-equipment sniper rifle, and was directly split into several pieces and blown up, killing him on the spot. Slarda's terrifying violence caused Li Shungyuan's eyelids to tremble slightly in the sky, and ordered the scattered two-headed ogre magicians to gather in the center. The remaining 8 double-headed ogre magicians stood in a row and began to cast spells at the same time, rubbing them out. Fire explosions the size of washbasins flew into the enemy formation, and in an instant, hundreds of murlocs were blown to pieces. Seeing this, Slarda roared loudly, and the 17 great Naga whale hunters, who were also scattered, began to gather around him, charging towards the two-headed cannibal mage who was continuing the second round of spellcasting in the distance. The huge size of the whale hunter knight is like a heavy cavalry, and it can easily knock the soldiers on the battlefield away and straight into the enemy's line. Seeing this, Li Shungyuan ordered the double-headed ogre to cast the spell again. Roaring and roaring, he rushed forward without fear of life and death. This is the bloodthirsty spell among the 2 signature spells of the two-headed ogre magician. It is similar to madness, but its power is not as powerful as that of madness. It can enable the subject to stimulate potential, increase strength and speed, reduce certain damage, and increase anti-psychological methods. Resistance, but the corresponding IQ will drop slightly, but it will not become disrespectful like a frenzy. The ogres and gnolls who had been blessed with bloodthirsty techniques were not afraid to face the charging dozen or so whale knights. Ogres and gnolls or grey dwarves rushed in, and even Slardar was stopped by this endless resistance. These little guys were not afraid to attack Slarda with their weapons, dig their swords into the cracks of the scales, and many wanted to climb on top of him. The angry Slarda slammed down with a fierce tail, and the heroic skill thunder smashed down, accompanied by a blast of white air like a dust explosion, and all enemies within a 50-meter diameter with Slarda as the center all turned into the sky. Blood sprayed all over the place. At the same time, other transcendent Naga did the same, and the thunder exploded one after another. An ogre grey dwarf with a strong physique can still withstand it, and a low-level race like the Gnoll can't stop the skills of the extraordinary troops, and large blocks are bombed and killed. But at this time, the group of double-headed ogre magicians had already released 3 rounds of pyroblast, and a large number of murlocs were killed, and even dozens of big Nagas were killed. Li Shungyuan didn't want to let his extraordinary arms fight head-on with his opponent at all. He knew very well that his two-headed ogre mages would definitely not be able to fight head-on, so he would take advantage of the double-headed ogre mages and use spells to clear the field. So now I have fallen into a strange balance. On the one hand, I continue to use spells to kill the murlocs, and on the other hand, I continue to use a lot of cannon fodder to resist Slarda and the extraordinary Big Naga. On the huge battlefield, 2 bloody strangulations were formed. In the meat farm, Cannon fodders from both sides were continuously involved in it and were strangled. There was nothing Lin Xiao could do about it. He couldn't break the game in a short period of time. He could only wait 10 minutes for the second round of salted fish stabs to cool down to see if he could break the deadlock with a wave of explosions. But within 10 minutes, I don't know how many family members will die. As an extraordinary creature, the magic power of each double-headed ogre magician can support dozens of pyrotechnic explosions, and the 8 double-headed ogre wizards add up to hundreds of pyrotechnic blasts, which is enough to kill most of his family. This is the first time that Lin Xiao has encountered such a difficult opponent. It has to be said that the extraordinary arms are indeed powerful. Whether it is the 2-headed ogre magician or the kobold dragon vein warlock, they are all powerful. His more than 1,500 murloc warlocks are a younger brother compared to these two law systems. The sea-water barrier that unfolds can withstand 1 or 2 pyrotechnic explosions, and the water element summoned is no different from murlocs. As soon as it explodes, it will disperse, not to mention other spells, and they don't have such a long range at all. Lin Xiao touched his chin, and was already considering the idea of adding a powerful legal family to his realm. Otherwise, other people have such a powerful mage and don't have it, wouldn't it be a big loss? It's okay at this stage, but it will be terrifying when there will be a legendary level legal system in the future. A powerful magic spell of the legendary level can completely destroy you in one wave, and there is no legendary level legal system of the same level that can't stop you. Boom! A pyrotechnic explosion exploded in the Big Naga group. Even if the Big Naga reacted quickly and fled away, the aftermath also overturned a dozen or so who fled slightly slower. When they burst out of the flames, their scales were shattered and blackened, and they were badly injured. At this time, there were very few relatives on the battlefield. There were only 1,560 ogres and less than 2,000 gnolls and grey dwarves left on Li Shengyuan's side, including 8 double-headed ogre magicians of course. On Lin Xiao's side, there are only 500 large naga, less than 1,000 little murlocs, and 17 large naga whale hunting knights are still there. Before, both sides were cleaning each other's cannon fodder, and they didn't tell each other's upper class troops launch. But now that the cannon fodder is almost dead, a decisive battle is imminent. Li Shengyuan gathered all the remaining troops and protected the 8-headed double-headed ogre magician in the center, especially the leader of one of the double-headed ogre magicians, which surprised Lin Xiao that this opponent had such strength, but there was no hero under his command. If there is a double-headed ogre hero, it will be difficult to fight. Heroes are generally much more powerful than units. The operation on his side is very simple. The rest of the family are lined up in a straight line, and the front lines are spread out to avoid being caught in a wave of spells. The expression on Lin Xiao's face is still normal, and he doesn't have much worry. Although there are few remaining family members, 10 minutes have passed, all skills have been cooled, and the rest of him are basically elites. He is not at all. Virtual opponent. Chapter 138 Bad Unspoken Rules and Retribution. The development of the battle was not what he expected. Slarda directly ordered a full-scale charge. After losing a certain number of subordinates to overtake the 2-headed ogre magicians 2 rounds of pyrotechnics and entered the charge distance, a wave of salted fish thrusts directly to the ogre car. Flipped. More than a dozen super naga found the double-headed ogre magician. Li Shengyuan sent a large number of ogres to block them. However, they did not target the double-headed ogre at all. Characteristic, a wave of long-distance charge smashed and intercepted until the double-headed ogre magician. Then, these 2-headed ogre magicians turned off, and the more powerful transcendent-level opponents were in sight, and it was impossible to free up their hands to continue bombing the battlefield. So far, although his subordinates suffered huge losses from 2 consecutive waves of pyrotechnics, and the total strength was less than a quarter of Li Shengyuan, he still had 17 extraordinary naga in his hands, and the average strength of the remaining main naga was far more than cannibals. Demon, the hard power still surpasses the opponent. The situation is basically set, and victory is in sight. Lin Xiao looked down at the battlefield with a smile, and occasionally glanced at Li Shengyuan in the distance. Although it was a little difficult, he finally won. The last melee lasted for 3 full hours, mainly because the ogre's life was too tenacious, especially the 8-headed double-headed ogre magician. Just in terms of vitality, it was not inferior to the extraordinary Naga, but it was not as strong as the hegemony. That's it. Even if the whale hunter knight, who is also at the extraordinary level, is stabbed by the salted fish, he cannot kill him with one hit. At the same time, Lin Xiao also discovered a weakness of the salted fish thrust in this battle, that is, this skill is a piercing type of damage, which is a magical skill against low-level enemies, but in the face of large-sized enemies with super vitality some tasteless. A single blow can easily penetrate the body of the two-headed ogre magician, but with the extraordinary physique and vitality of the double-headed ogre magician, this blow is not fatal at all. Lin Xiao squinted his eyes and thought, maybe he could concoct a powerful skill suitable for slashing and load it into the big Naga, specifically to deal with opponents of large size and tenacious vitality. Anyway, there are still 2 units of good fortune energy, you can try it in the future. Well, write it down first as a preliminary option. He nodded, focusing on observing the battlefield. About half an hour later, Li Shengyuan was wiped out as the leader of the most tenacious two-headed ogre magician was surrounded and killed by a few extraordinary Nagas who were freed. And Lin Xiao was not too bad. In the end, there were only less than 300 murlocs, 200 big Naga, and even the 6th order big Naga whale hunting knights died too. All of them died in the back of the two-headed cannibal the magician's pyrotechnics set fire to death. Although the tyrant is strong, it is not invincible after all. After the first battle, Lin Xiao calculated that in the battle just now, Li Shengyuan was indeed the most powerful opponent he had ever encountered, and the difference in strength between the two sides was very small. Don't look at how much he still has so much main force left in the end, that's because this time it's a field battle, and there's no terrain available on the plains, so it's impossible to exert the opponent's strength at all. Terrain, it is not so easy for him to win. The battle is over, take a break, and the second round begins soon. Routinely choosing the topography of the plain, Lin Xiao casually chose the default, looked up at Li Shengyuan in the distance, but saw the corners of the other party's mouth slightly curled into a sly smile. He frowned, and he couldn't think of what he meant for a while. But he quickly understood why the other party laughed so much, because when the terrain of the two sides was determined, and the map that appeared on the virtual plane was a guttural canyon from the lower left corner of the map to the upper right corner of the map, he knew what the other party was planning. Yes, Li Shengyuan felt that his absolute strength could not be beaten, so he played a clever trick and chose the sheep intestine canyon terrain when choosing the map. According to the default gauge in the summer camp, the challenge map is generally the default, starting from flat terrains such as plains and wasteland. If each of them chooses the terrain that appears is an ultra-complex terrain selected by both parties, and it is easy to create some terrain that is not suitable for both parties, so everyone defaults to the initial plain and wasteland terrain. If one party chooses favorable terrain in the challenge, it is generally the default that they cannot beat the other party. Of course, this is of no use. It does not affect winning or losing by being silent. The challenge only depends on the result. Gut Canyon. Lin Xiao frowned and glanced at the mountain tops. Only the one in the middle diagonally was less than 100 meters wide at its widest, and only a dozen meters at its narrowest. The left and right were surrounded by cliffs, and then looked up at Li Shengyuan, who was smug, chose to surrender. Can't fight at all. As long as they put the cannon fodder in the front, 10 two-headed ogre magicians keep throwing one after another to the middle station, and they can pile up all the way, and there is no need to fight at all. He couldn't say anything about it. They just broke the default rules and didn't violate the rules of the summer camp. He could only say that he was careless and didn't pay attention when determining the terrain. One win each of the 2 battles, and in the next 3 most crucial battles, Lin Xiao directly chose the water terrain. Since the other party doesn't pay attention to the rules, he will definitely not show mercy and choose the terrain that his family is best at. The 2 sides were determined, and soon a stunned terrain appeared in front of him. Lin Xiao opened his mouth wide and looked at the simulated terrain in the plain in front of him. After a while, the corner of his mouth slowly opened a long arc. He looked up and saw Li Shengyuan, who was also stunned. He suddenly stretched out his hand and pressed his forehead to laugh. This is really retribution. The terrain he chose was water, and Li Shengyuan's terrain was estimated to be mountains and canyons, so the 2 sides chose to combine them to form a strange terrain with countless broken mountains, waters, and flat land. The edges of hills with smooth cross-sections are surrounded by water. Occasionally a piece of land lies in the water, or sometimes the grass is submerged by shallow water, or a large flat land has mountains on one side and water on the other, and swims to other land. In short, this is a chaotic terrain. Although the different open spaces and grasslands are not completely blocked by mountains, there are roads to walk, but many places are blocked by waters and need to swim to pass. Therefore, Lin Xiao said it was retribution after reading the terrain. That is, the terrain was almost blood to defeat Li Shengyuan, just like the other party chose the Sheep Intestine Canyon to defeat him with blood just now, and now Li Shengyuan's face is as black as the bottom of a pot. This is one of the reasons why it is necessary to default when choosing a terrain, because different races have different terrains. If both parties choose terrains that are suitable for their families, it is easy to have such pitiful terrains in combination. This is not too weird. If one party chooses the terrain of the underground world, and the other party chooses the normal ground terrain, there will be some more outrageous maps, and one party cannot play at all. At this time, Li Shengyuan had already sent his family members into the battlefield with a dark face. Fortunately, although the terrain is very strange, there are large open spaces on both sides of the plain for the family members of both sides to enter the field. There is a large body of water outside. Li Shengyuan released all his family members and sent cannon fodder to block Taniguchi. It seemed that he wanted to stay here and fight back. Unfortunately, this is not possible. With the order of the epic hero Slarda, many murlocs rushed out from the mouth of the valley and plunged into the water, cheering along the curved water and land trails to swerve and turn in the plain. This road is super turning. Obviously the straight line is not very long, but it will be long after turning around. After spending nearly an hour on the road, the army stopped in a water area not far from the canyon where Li Shengyuan's family was born. Slardar climbed up the mountain to observe the terrain, and ordered the Murloc Warlock to start summoning the water element. One water element was summoned, and after 4 waves, more than 4,000 water elements were accumulated, and nearly 5,000 water elements were accumulated. Then the warlocks rested for a while and began to taunt, pushing the lake water in the nearby waters to slowly rise. The summoned water element also has the power of taunting, and together with more than 1,000 warlocks, it will gather water from the lake farther away, and finally gather into a huge wave of more than 30 meters high and rush towards the mouth of the valley. There was amazement above the sky, and someone said with certainty, "Li Shengyuan is lost. As soon as the starting terrain comes out, you will lose. This hero is very powerful. He has such an excellent command and adaptability. Defeat Li Shengyuan." The young man's strength is already ranked among the strongest in the second echelon of this summer camp. Both his strength and potential are so outstanding, he deserves a special invitation letter. "Are you sure you want to get one?" someone asked. "I remember that you either only have 5 special recruits this year." "Yes, I have 2 on hand now, but I may not actually use the second one." "That's right. The 6 have been decided by default. There are more than a dozen people in the second tier. It's good to grab one. The strength and potential below the second tier are not enough, so it's not worth a special place." "You don't want." "Yes, but I only have 1 special place in my hand. I wanted to give it to him, but I also found a good seedling just now, and the other party also accepted the invitation." "That's not a coincidence. Who said no? It's a pity that the number of special recruits is too small, otherwise I will definitely fight with you." Hey. While they were chatting, the battle within the plain was drawing to a close. The Murloc Warlocks only summoned 2 waves of tides. The first wave rushed into the valley, closed on 3 sides and directly rolled out most of Li Shengyuan's cannon fodder, and then the second wave rolled out all but 10 two-headed ogre magicians. The monstrous river water formed a turbulent vortex outside the valley under the urging of the Murloc Warlock and the water element, and a large number of Murloc Naga dived into the water and dragged the rolled-out enemies into the water and drowned. And then, there is no then. There are only 10 two-headed ogre magicians left, and it is impossible to turn the sky upside down. The densely packed Murlocs rushed into the valley on the waves, and they were chopped to death with 10,000 knives. The battle was over. Lin Xiao's seat rose to Li Shengyuan's seat, while Li Shengyuan's seat fell to the bronze level. At this point, all challenges at this stage have ended, and 6 mythical quality 5-star cards, 1 ancient god card, and 2 extra card slots have been obtained. Well, it has not been settled yet, because there are still players who have not completed the challenge, but he has stabilized.